All right. Welcome to CLS After Dark. What did he just say? Yeah, CLS After Dark. Hey, a new trying to have fun on a Friday night. I see we've got some people. I see some comments. Some people already watching. We got our. If you've seen anything I've done, whether it was Centerline Systems or Millstone or Mission Critical, you got to know who DB is. I'll introduce him in a second here. He's going to be my co-host for tonight. I hope you do have an adult beverage in hand. What do you got, DB?
Dude, my kids aren't even.
I don't just
stop
yet. Just stop talking. Just stop talking already. All right, boys and girls. So some of this conversation tonight will be serious. Some of it's going to be fun. You can already see it is. I hope you're having a beverage, strap in for the shit show. DB though, just in case, it's just the right thing to do. Tell everybody just a little bit about yourself real quickly. Or whatever you're willing to share, what you can share, that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm sure we'll get into the fun stuff tonight, but basically, I guess the reason I am going to be on this show tonight is I am a former CIA officer who served alongside Mark, and I'm one of his guys who shows up here and there and talks about these types of issues. Mark and we served in a few awesome places together. But most importantly, after we both left the agency, he helped me write a bunch of guides for this group I run called Reno Dads, where what Mark and I did was write guides on how to take some of our CIA training techniques and, apply them to how men and women can protect our families. So, surveillance detection, situational awareness, that kind of stuff. So that's the long and the short of it. How about that?
That's pretty good. And while you're saying that, though, I'm glad you just mentioned that. I always love giving you a plug over there. So I just had to pull up Reno Dads. Yeah, and I'll do that here in a second. I'll share that with everybody.
And probably relevant to tonight, I did write an article. It's going to be hard to find maybe on Reno Dad's website, but it's the escape from the embassy in Tripoli. I don't know what we actually.
Nope, it's there.
Titled. Oh, sweet. So
yeah, I'm gonna pull here. I'll just pull it up right now, David. Just give me a second. Let me come back over to us. Okay, if you want to give some voiceover, I'll bring this full screen so people can see it, and then because your article's that article's like the next one down.
Yeah. So basically, the site, if you even pull up articles written by me, you'll see a lot more sports related kids stuff, but specific to the CIA. What you see right here is what we came up with inside the 2011 U.S. Embassy evacuation from Libya. It might be one of my personal favorites. It was a nice recollection of the events that took place in Libya that we'll probably get into a little bit here, but it was mentally I don't know how to say it, but it took a lot off my shoulders to just get that information out there. Even though we didn't go into classified in the article, it was nice to just say, this is what we did, this is what we were doing, and this is how we did it. And no one knows the story. That's literally the only place you're ever going to see this story.
And on a personal note, before we just kind of jump, with both feet into this, I can just personally say I'm going through my own journey here these last couple of years. I run a business. I've had so many people say, don't talk about politics. I don't even think we're talking about politics. I don't really think I've ever talked about politics. But for me, it was the totally fucked up withdrawal from Afghanistan. That's when I started becoming a little bit, hey, I have an opinion, and I'm an American and I'm entitled to one, and I can share it through the First Amendment. And then to kind of DB, and I'm not just an idiot, right? I'm not just somebody who's cutting off all my hair because my side didn't win the election and I somehow think that's going to change the world or whatever, type of thing. DB's got real world experience. I've got real world. And matter of fact, and just on that note, as we kind of go into this, I just want to preface here. Let me just get rid of this for a sec, so you can see both of us. Look, you don't have to believe us. I know because I've been on a couple other podcasts myself, on somebody else's podcast, where my CIA background has come up, and that's why I was on their podcast. And then you look over at the comments in the chat, once a spook, always a spook. Well, that would be like the world's worst spook, like to be there. And when I was there, I know what, and this is going to come up later tonight, but I lived that job, and DB can say if I'm full of shit or, his views on it, but I really believed in that job, and I believed in, and I took it very seriously. And, if you take that very seriously, like, well, that, on one hand, it's like saying, again, trust all women, all cops are bad, all white people are, whatever your thing is. If you're going to lump everybody into a category like that, well, that's pretty foolish in my opinion. David left for a reason. I left for a reason. My reasons are my own, but it had to do with, and spoiler alert, that organization, at least when I was there, my fun meter was pegged, and I do have a fun meter thing someplace. I should have had that in the background. My fun meters was pegged, and this will come up in our conversation with DB. And it was pegged in that last spot, that last thing I did. And I was like, this is not the organization you think it is. I can't be around these bureaucrats and idiots anymore, because look, I know I'm going to die. We're all going to die, but I don't want to die in a snuff film with you watching my head get, chopped off with a rusty knife, or there's a picture of me and my teammate in a burnt out vehicle as they're dragging our burnt bodies through the street. That's just fucking stupid, right? And if you can avoid that stuff, look, there's always risk in those type of things. All of my guys and gals, if you watch this, whether it's live or on demand, if you're in the military, there's risks. There's a risk just going from here to your grocery store every day. Life is full of risks. Some of us take those risks, greater risks, and we do so voluntarily. But to DB and myself, I expected that to truly be the tip of the spear. There were some great people there, some great operations, but spoiler alert, and DB, you've got a great way of saying it. Don't chalk up to malice, which you can, how do you say it? Don't chalk up to malice that which can be defined by stupidity or bureaucracy or something like that. I can't remember how you said it.
No, nothing fancy like that. I tend to find bureaucracy and ineptitude to be far greater than anything malicious, like with intent. I usually think the bureaucrats are just that awful that there's no distinguishable difference between how bad they are and malicious intent. That's just, I tended to see the bureaucracy was worse.
And unfortunately, that's two sides of the same coin. If somebody's malicious or just knowingly that stupid and unwilling to do their job, well, that's still a form of evil. And we'll get into that a little bit more here tonight. I just won't want to get too far away from it because we don't have a format. This is the first of these After Darks. DB and I, boy, I think honestly, if you guys could be a flying, hey, NSA guys, publish one of the transcripts between some of the conversations DB and I have had, just over the phone. But I hope we can give you some entertainment, let you be a little bit of a fly on the wall. But before we get into that, DB, because I'm going to bring it down in a second, anything to add to, I've got it posted right now. That link will take you to this page right here where all of those type of articles are located. Anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, we didn't get into a ton of them. I think there was like 4 or 5, but they were the more critical pieces of information that would just, without giving information overload, which would help a dad protect his wife and children. And that was kind of the angle we took. Don't make it too crazy. Not everybody has to be out there to act like a spy, colloquially, but what you can take from some of our training is enough to save your family in certain situations. So,
yeah. And just add, well, okay. So I want to add to that, but should I take this down now? Is that been up there long enough? If anyone's interested, you should be able to cut and paste or snapshot or whatever. It's still in the comments so you can see it. DB, I am going to want to do comments like we kind of normally do, just to give everybody a little shout out, but back to what you were just saying, look, David and I both know exactly what you can do, sources and methods. I signed documentation when I left there. There's some things that are definitely past that statute of limitation, but I'm still going to try to do the right thing. And just on that note, maybe this is where we started off with something kind of funny. If you really live this world and if you aren't a douchebag, you know, like, because I guarantee a lot of you have heard some people say, well, I can't talk about that, or I used to do this, but I can't talk about it. That person's full of shit, because if you really did that, you really can't talk about it, and you would do your cover. Like, you wouldn't be, oh, I'm a cool guy, but I can't tell you about it. If your cover was, and you know, working for some company, just imagine any company, you know, out there, or agency or organization. If that was your cover, that's how you would answer that question. And you have a cover story and it's backstopped the whole 9 yards. When somebody says to you, oh, I used to do some stuff, but I can't talk about that, they've already violated their terms of service, if you want to call it that in more generic terms. DB, you want to add anything to that? Because that always just makes me laugh. Oh, well, you know, I used to do this kind of stuff, but I can't really talk about it. And they don't know I used to be in the agency. I'm like, well, you already just did, asshole. I mean, like, you already just blew your cover, you dumb shit.
I mean, the clever agency guys know how to say it without saying it. You know, they know how to tell you what they've done and where they've been without saying what they've done and where they've been. It's a dance, but it's usually, we know what to protect. We know the sources, we know the methods, we know the classified information that's out there that is our responsibility to protect even today. You know, we know what that is, and we're smoother about going about how we talk about it.
Well, and just last point, and then I want to do some comments, but even to that, you're still not doing that with some girl you met in a bar or some rando, you know, at the baseball game, right? You know, like, you know, and even then, like, still to this day, my CI, my counterintelligence radars is always up. You know, the surveillance detection, the just, you know, situational awareness. Is this a dangle? Is somebody coming at me? Like, even though I haven't been there since 2012, right? So what is 12 years ago, a dozen years ago, it still doesn't matter, right? That is still legit. And that still is kind of beat into who you are in every fiber of your being. Now we are going to David's point, I have to dance around a little bit of something tonight, but when we get to that little dance, you're going to just see how stupid bureaucrats, to David's point, how stupid bureaucrats can be. I'm like, well, hey, if I do what you guys are telling me to do, won't that draw attention to this? Like, hey, dude, just shut up and quit asking questions. That's what you're going to do. I'm like, you're just going to get people killed, but whatever. All right, here we go. Here's what we got so far. All right. Well, first we had ground fog, first one in, big clap. And then we got Gene across the pond. Let's have some fun and giggles. Well, that depends on what you're drinking there, Gene. I'm not sure. I can't guarantee we're going to be fun. Tennessee saying hi. Gene saying good evening to Tennessee. Okay, Tennessee's got an adult beverage. John reporting for duty. He's got an adult beverage. Snowshoe checking in. Episode 1, the adventure begins. And that's the comment I did. Gene, you both earned the right to say what you want when you want, and no one can say anything. Kind of true, but not true. I mean, but thank you. The photos you showed and the words tell us thank you for your service. Thank you, Gene, for the commentary. Hey, don't forget, well, not you as a citizen of another country, but all you fellow Americans, you paid. Like, you know, that's just the thing. Like, I volunteered to do it. And it was you guys who did the heavy lifting back home and had families and, you know, and put money so I'd have money in my account so I could go off and be like, you know, basically a fucking grown-up child version of a child. You know, you don't tell me you wouldn't think it's cool. Like, you know, okay, what are you doing on your time off? Well, I'm doing this training and that training, and all that stuff is the shit that people pay tens of thousands of dollars to go through. You know, can't even tell you how many rounds of ammo I've got, you know, like, so you know, it's kind of nice. Like, what does your job entail? Oh, I've got to be really proficient at these type of things. And these type of things are pretty damn cool. So thank you to everybody who helped give us that opportunity. And just on a personal note, that's why I want to start talking about this. That's why I drug DB in here tonight, because we got to give this stuff back. And that's why when he reached out to me and asked me about Reno Dads, I'm like, hell yeah, I'll help you write whatever you want me to write, because you guys paid for these experiences. And, you know, this training formulates one of the things that formulates experiences. And if there's a way we can give that back, whether it's in bullshit conversation tonight or in future conversations, that's what we got to do. And then last comment, and then we'll get into some fun stuff. We got Learn Me Something, raising his glass of scotch. Yeah, I got to rub in that he's raising scotch. That's what DB would be drinking had he not.
I switched to bourbon. So much cheaper when you're raising a family.
Oh, but I thought this was the world's bestest economy, DB. What are you talking about? We just don't understand how awesome this economy is because we're all idiots.
That was honestly what I switched. I'm like thinking, a normal mid-range scotch is like $80 and like a great bourbon's like 45. No brainer for me.
Hey, here's a no-brainer. I got a loose plan for some of the things we're going to do here tonight. So, David, and everybody, I'm not trying to say pay attention, but just think this through for a second. David, during your time in the CIA, how many foreign countries did you help illegally overthrow in your time in the agency?
We allowed to say this?
It's not a serious question. It's not a serious question. But here's a serious question to all you guys and gals watching. Look, and if somebody comes back with the technically correct, like, well, technically the CIA never illegally overthrows any foreign countries because of titles and authorities, and okay, yeah, technically you're probably correct. That's not the answer I'm looking for here. I want to have a little fun. So whoever gives the best answer, and David's going to pick it in the chat, whoever gets it, I'm going to give one of our little key DCs. So just because we're talking kind of CIA shit, it's a small little wallet. You can conceal it, hold your little boo-boo kit. Maybe this is your real wallet around your neck when you're traveling overseas, and you give the bad guy or whoever's stealing shit from you, you give them the fake wallet. So kind of fits into some of the things we're talking about tonight. So the question for you guys and gals, DB's going to pick whoever gives the best answer. How many countries has the CIA illegally overthrown?
Oh,
I'm not looking for numbers. We're looking for a good, funny answer. Whoever you are, you're going to win this little KDC concealment wallet. David, you'll pick it.
I thought you were asking about things I participated in. My bad.
Well, we'll get to that. Maybe you can sit and comment. Well, for me personally, only one, type of thing. ABV, yeah, dude, don't overthink it. Just have fun with yeah. How many foreign countries has the CIA illegally overthrown? That's all, because if somebody made an answer, I'll help you out. This isn't a great answer. You could have responded, which American election, that would have been a fair question right there. All right. DB. All right. There's already a couple good answers here. 99. And that just made me laugh because the 99s are Luft balloons. I don't know why I made that connection, Phil. Gene is saying all of them plus 2 planets and a galaxy, all with the help of Bender. If Bender was a CIA operative, he would have been all about overthrowing all of that stuff. AVV, none. The CIA is above reproach. Now that's a funny answer just because of how unfucking true that is. So, all right, we'll let that brew for a second. DB, give a little commentary, something. We'll give just that 2 more minutes to let somebody come up with we got some pretty good answers here so far, but.
God, isn't that the whole intention when after World War II, like we dove into overthrowing often democratically elected countries pretty quickly. We got good at it, but.
Well, on a serious note, we're, just having a little bit of fun at, our former alma maters, expense. At the end of the day, though, it's I don't want to say a necessary evil. I mean, but whether it's politics, economics, or warfare, good intelligence. I mean, that is what your CIA should be helping you shape the battlefield. So good guys win, bad guys lose. Obviously we're making a little bit of fun because the track record isn't always pristine and, and the best in the world, but, Bay of Pigs comes to mind, kind of shit. But it's, I'm not just poo-pooing. I'm trying to have a little fun. We got 45 seconds and then we're going to cut that off and see what our answer's on. And David's going to pick a winner. But just on talking about the CIA, because there's so many people, David, and I'm going to turn it over to you before we do the answer. But, so many people have the wrong idea. And we all make jokes like this, and that maybe doesn't help it out. Or the CIA does stupid things, and that doesn't help it out either. But at the end of the day, there's not a country out there. Well, I mean, maybe there is a country out there that doesn't have an intelligence organization, but there's not a serious major level country out there that doesn't have an intelligence organization. And the reason is because what are you going to do? Just be blind to everything and then just go into every diplomatic, tussle, or every, or just be blind to everything and then find yourself in a nuclear conflict? Of course, you have to have intelligence. And sometimes it has to be, a little bit on that muddy, dirty side. David, you want to comment on that? And then we'll go to answers.
And that is the thing. It's one of the most important aspects of fighting wars that we've had in the history of time. Look at Sun Tzu in The Art of War. There's a chapter dedicated to spycraft. What, chapter 13 or 11, one of them. This is collecting intelligence is how you make informed decisions. It's how our leadership makes informed decisions. So there's absolutely a need for the CIA, for all the other intelligence agencies for their respective countries. But that's why, when people talk about getting rid of the CIA, they're not doing it tongue in cheek, but we know it's not in very serious thought. It's not possible. It would hurt, it would hurt our country more than it would help, win political points by saying such things. Like the CIA, we had different experiences. We have personal experiences with the organization, but objectively, when we look back, it is one of the most important pillars of our country's defense.
Now, I would actually think that maybe the CIA does need to go away and we replace it with the original model, the OSS, which still does the diplomatic, economic, and warfare side of things. But at a minimum, though, I will just say, and somebody can say I'm being political all you want, but one of the reasons I left there, the fund meter was pegged. Why was the fund meter pegged? Because it was no longer what David and I are talking about. And that mission statement, that focus, in my humble opinion, had horribly broken down, and it was all about self-interest and self-promotion, and no one actually really gave us a fuck about your operational directives, your mission. So for me, I could actually see, hey, if Donald J. Trump reaches out to me and asks me to go through that Senate confirmation to be the director, I'll have a go at it, because I would go in there and reformulate the OSS as opposed to the CIA. All right. Hey, David, we're at 22. Let's just review answers here. And then you got to pick a winner. And he didn't know that. I just threw that on. So I hope but he deserved it because he doesn't have an adult beverage. So he's going to have to be the guy here. All right. Here's what we got. Phil, 99 countries. So again, the question was, tongue in cheek, how many countries has the CIA illegally overthrown? Right? Phil, well, actually, I guess the first one is AVV. Ever? Well, yeah, and then Phil, 99, Gene, all of them in 2 planets plus 1 galaxy, all with the help of Bender. He's the character somewhere over my shoulder someplace. And then AVV comes in with an answer. None. The CIA is above reproach. I'm almost wet from the sarcasm dripping out of that right there, AVV. Tennessee, since yesterday. AVV. And then this is, okay, I can't give my butts. It's hard to guess when we are funding and helping both sides at the same time. David, tell me if you want to see them again or read one again.
AVV's got it. None. The CIA is above reproach. We don't
above reproach
countries.
Okay, AVV above reproach.
And second place is his other one. We're funding both sides.
We're funding
one
both.
way or another. We are the warlords.
Yep. Yeah. We're helping drug runners bring drugs and yeah, exactly. Yeah. So AVV, David just gave you the first and second place. AVV, you know the deal. And I know I've got it someplace, but help me help you. Send me an email, give me your info, and I will drop this in the mail for you. And don't worry, there's going to be one more giveaway here tonight. So you might get both. There's a chance you could be, winner twice tonight. But thank you everybody for playing around with our stupid little joke as we're kind of starting this first episode off. And there is going to be one more, something like that as we go forward. David, now on that point, I kind of have a couple things that I want to do, but I've been talking quite a bit and I need to take a sip of wine. So where would you like to go? What would you like to tell people? Like, whether you want to go into that last location or do you want to take it from a slightly 600 feet, point of view? What do you want? Where would you like to go? We're going to have to talk about the capitalist caliphate, though, for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to talk about the greatest road trip in the history of the CIA for sure. You know, we could. We brought up my article about the escape from the embassy, and I actually think that's probably a good place to start because we're actually getting into the nuts and bolts of what it is that our experiences bring us. And I know you and I were on two different parts of that that disaster that happened. But back in 2011, when Arab Spring's blowing up, Tunisia's blowing up, Libya, Egypt, the whole Middle East, when it became time for Libya to blow up, we weren't prepared for it. Not we as the CIA necessarily. We're the ones like actually paying attention in country. It was I hate to say the State Department, but they were thinking,
But
look
you
at
already know my disagreement with that from that one
no,
time. Well,
I
okay,
know,
I don't want
but
to. Yeah,
showing up to that point in time, and I cover a little bit of that in the article without being too finger pointy, but we were out there wondering what the hell's going on, and a lot of people on so this kind of came to me as like a little bit of State Department versus CIA. Both are saying two different things to our leaders back in Washington, and that was driving me insane because what I was looking at and what the media was reporting, they're magically reporting, CNN, BBC, all the media is reporting even though they're not in the country. And they're reporting all this chaos that there's Gaddafi shooting at the protesters with anti-artillery weapons and shooting from the sea with their battleship or whatever they had out there, their little boat,
their
dinghy,
little
who knows?
gunboats. Yeah,
And sending their MiGs over and attacking people on the outskirts of the city. And those of us who are in the country are just looking around thinking, what? Like, this isn't happening. There's not dead bodies all over my neighborhood. My neighborhood being right actually between where you and I lived. Our neighborhoods were separated by one main road. Between our two houses, that's where this war started, actually. That's where the revolution started. Right in our when I'm talking neighborhood, I'm talking like 20 houses. That's how close we were to how all this conflict was starting. But it was just protest. It wasn't even like the this non-violent protest in like Oregon, right? These are just protesting, marching down to Green Square every night, whatever. No dead bodies. Gaddafi's not attacking anybody. Some cars are getting lit up. There is definitely, a revolution brewing, but there was just different perspectives on what was actually happening. And when that information kept getting back to Washington, it felt like, and I didn't write this in the article, of course, because there wasn't really room for the history of it, but Washington seemed to be making political decisions more than logical decisions. And that's what was driving me insane during that point in time because Libya was pretty stable. Like Gaddafi's crazy, but anybody who's in the country is like, okay, out of his 40 years of being in power, this is like he's on a really good track record right now. He's working with everybody, like, and politically that didn't sit well with Washington. And part of me thinks that pushed that war, that revolution forward more than the people in the country and just our politics and the way we play those games. But the whole article I wrote, and I don't want to get too deep into my thoughts on that, but the whole article is really cool. It's about how the actions of the embassy personnel, the CIA, the State Department, the folks who were there, our actions to save the lives of hundreds of people, all the Americans who were in the country that we were able to get onto in a ferry and evacuate, our families, our children, my wife, my son, one of my two cats, the other one didn't make it out, but unfortunately, but the story is really cool. And the greatest part of that whole story was a small group of Americans, CIA, mostly CIA, in in the State Department leadership, knowing what would happen if we stayed behind. One of the risks that Gaddafi could turn our embassy into another Iran hostage situation. We knew that was a possibility, a strong possibility even, that we still chose to stay behind to make sure those hundreds of people could get out of the country. And to me, that's nuts, right? Like that's what we signed up to do. I was more shocked that some of the people chose to go on because we didn't have to. We were given a choice. You either stay in country and do your job, or you go on the ferry with everybody else and evacuate safely. And the people who chose to evacuate blew me away. Some of them, right? You're talking military folks career military folks who should have been the first to say,
Now, just in all fairness, before you say that, but if your fund meter's pegged, and because I just wrote down a question, but did we create that possibility? So the one thing I'm gonna I'm gonna feed this back over to you, but I wanted to say this because, and you're again, David and I didn't know where he was going to go, but to that point though, if when given the option of staying and dying gallantly, but for stupid reasons, or just getting the F out of Dodge and like retreating and figuring things out. Because again, look, I'm just going to bring up Ukraine. You do you. If you want to volunteer and if you want to go and fight in Ukraine as a foreign fighter, you do you. But I'm going to take a step back and say, you guys know we created that whole situation. I mean, just do some basic fucking history. I mean, ScrewTube or Google, Facebook, they haven't scrubbed it all yet. And thank God, because that probably, that's where we would have been going censorship, if you want my political opinion, had this election gone differently. But that information's out there. And I think some of that's going to start coming to light and some of the other nefarious things. And you've kind of already alluded to some of that, DB. And I just want to come back to that. Yeah, but are we the innocent party here? Did we not and I can say this is open source information. DB's talking about what that country was like back in 2010, 2011 time period. Actually probably was like that a little bit sooner. Yeah, we had the Gulf of Sidra thing with Gaddafi back in the 80s, and we had the air incursion. Yeah, there's definitely, and Libya, no doubt about it, had been housing terrorists for a long time. If you go back into the 80s, Bader Meinhof, Red Army faction, et cetera, Libya definitely had provided, if nothing else, some comfort, maybe not direct support, but indirect support to terrorist organizations that were sticking it to, Uncle Sugar. But at the end of the day, if you're not an innocent party in this, so when you look at the beginning of our GWAT, and here I'll just do a stupid little history lesson. Later on in the GWAT, all the fighting was out in Western Iraq, the wild, wild West, all Anbar province. That has a border with Syria. The vast majority, I'm not breaking any rules here, the vast majority of foreign fighters coming in to work with Al-Qaeda were coming from where? You guessed it. Where? You guessed it. Well, Eastern Libya. Yeah, Libya, right? And that's going to set up for the capitalist caliphate and our road trip from hell. But that's where they're coming from. And at some point in time, Gaddafi said, you know what? It's better if I start working with these guys, because these guys, these are Salafists, these are Wahhabists, these are a thorn in his side too. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I'm not saying, I am not making any excuses. His kids were freaking, just like he was a dictator, cruel, whatever. But honestly, DB, if you think of Northern Africa, the Middle East, I'm thinking of all the places I've been, and there's one or two others that had relaxed standards. It's a Muslim Islamic country, but it was pretty relaxed. Drinking was verboten, but no one effed with us, in our villas, and there were places to go in compounds where, as a Westerner, you were, so there was an opportunity for bridges to be built. And some people, and I'm bringing this back to you, did we create this though? And because it does seem to me historically that there were warmongers back in DC who just needed something to do, and they didn't. And he was the guy, even though it's like, hey, but this guy's helping us. Yeah, who cares? We need an easy target, and this is the new boogeyman, and I need a war under my belt for my presidential run or whatever it is I'm trying to do.
Absolutely. And I mean, I will not dispute that point at all. We created this mess, we helped encourage it. We didn't stand in the way. We didn't tell Gaddafi like, dude, check these few boxes just to give us some, some political cover, and we'll help
Yeah.
tamp this down. But you've pissed off half your country, and now, like, in fairness, Clinton and Obama, they kept their mouths shut the entire time we were, and I didn't even put that in the article. I should have. They kept their mouths shut the entire time we were about to evacuate. Right? They knew, we knew, everybody knew the second they opened their mouths and started doing their warmongering, we were screwed.
Yeah.
We weren't going to, and that's when we chose to stay behind. And that was kind of my point. We chose to stay behind, not to appease our government, not to push our government's agenda, not even to be part of whatever was happening. It was purely and entirely to give cover to the women and children and families to get out of the country. And we knew that when we were sitting there. We're also the CIA. We had a backup plan. We had an exfil plan. It wasn't clean, but we knew what was going on. But the intention was, if we stay behind in country, they could get out safely. Then we'll figure out what to do with ourselves. And that was more of that. But yeah, absolutely. I was not staying in that country to, fight a war for these guys or to push a political agenda that was coming from the top. That was not the intention at first. But the evacuation article, which, like I said, I enjoyed writing, very therapeutic, even though it's very declassified or unclassified, not even declassified, unclassified, might be missing some of the sexy details that might get slipped out here, but it was part of the idea that we need to start talking about this, because we're the ones who are there to experience. I am literally the only one I think one other person might have wrote about it now, but at the time, I was the only person who's ever written about that experience, especially from a CIA standpoint. I'm still the only one. And that's a shame, because it's part of our history. We lost a U.S. embassy and no one knows about it. The media doesn't know about it. The population doesn't know about it.
And don't forget, we lost an embassy and we lost 4 Americans. And truth be told, and for all the people, look, to myself included, I've never ever wanted and once in my life wanted just to arbitrarily kill somebody, not some sick fucker, sadomasochist, no. But if that's what, needs to, but I spent over 30 years of my life in environments where if that's what I have to do, I volunteered to be in that position. But to DB's point, no one talks about this. I mean, like, we shouldn't be going to war for the sake of going to war. If we have to step up, I mean, it's Roosevelt, walk softly and carry a big stick, but no one talks about that. And I'm going to be kind of curious whether you watch this, live or on demand. Either case, leave a comment below, because the DB's part, and this is kind of like, I don't know, DB, I might be, that was a long time ago. I might be missing something here, but I know you and I have kind of talked about this, because DB was writing the articles, had reached out to me to help writing some of the trade crafty side of stuff. And it was about during that same period in time, I was actually thinking about writing a book. And I've never written a book before. I don't even know how to go about even doing that. Mine was going to be called, Lessons in Leadership. And then the subtitle was, take the name of your organization, your business, whatever, and insert it into the title of because it's the same fucking stories. This is what we get in these type of bureaucratic organizations. There's great stuff and great people, but often enough, it's a major failure in leadership. And DB, bringing it back over to you. I think that's just kind of my big point is, to me, and that's what I say. It was the final straw. My fun meter was totally pegged. And honestly, I was going to, and DB, help me. Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure I can say, I was actually going to leave the age. I was in the process of going back home to walk the fuck away from this place. And, so DB, I got to be careful here, right? But you seem like 2 weeks before DB and those guys are in that situation, I'm going home to give everybody the double-barreled middle finger. Like, I'm just done. You guys are fucking ass clowns and amateurs. And I'm not going to be videotape with my corpse burning in a vehicle because, hey, if that happens, and that happens, but not because of stupidity, right? That's, if I'm going to die of stupidity, it's going to be my own stupidity, not because somebody else decided not to give me and my team a fucking phone call or a radio call on my 6 forms of communication the day Osama bin Laden is fucking killed. And I'm down meeting with terrorists, me, one other American, and a local translator. And you don't even think, and I'm meeting with terrorists, right? And you don't even want to give me a phone call. I'm convinced to this day, and I'm kind of going a little bit of a side note, and who my partner was, DB. Superhero speak from the dive. I can't even do it as good as he. Yeah, but the only reason we're alive is because I think everybody was just too dumbfounded, and also because we're not idiots and we weren't just like touting the fact that we were Americans and all this kind of shit. And otherwise, I think I wouldn't be here having this conversation today. But so DB, to bring this back over to what we were kind of getting at in the embassy thing, again, I think it was also during that time, if you remember, like I was like, you don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis to prepare for one. And the crisis had already started. It had started in the country over to the east, and then it was the country. I'm like, dude, what are you guys fucking waiting for? This is going to be a crisis here. And yeah, DB, you want to take it from there and add to that?
And I mean, not even before, like there's so many steps where they could have done something. And even, I think I might have alluded to it in the article, is the ferry was a last ditch effort to get our families out, to get the embassy personnel and the other Americans out. That was the final backup plan because nothing else worked. They sent all our families to the airport against, I kept telling the chief, I'm like, hey, dude, boss, whatever, not using names, obviously.
Well, but you can say chief. I mean, that's totally
chief.
Unclassified. He was chief of station. Yep, chief of station.
Airport is done. My guys are telling me no planes are taking off that aren't government,
Time out real quickly. Just so when David says my guys are telling me, David wasn't running a source network, but David had so many locals he basically was running a source network. So when David's guys are saying this street is closed or you can't get food here or whatever, it was fucking 100% accurate intel, just for the record.
And no planes are taking off. There's thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of people at the airport. Why are we sending our families there? And the chief, just being the chief, we didn't have the ambassador 2 months earlier. He got kicked out of the country. And our deputy chief of mission, who I absolutely think is fantastic, she didn't have a choice. Washington was calling the shots. They weren't on the ground. They were calling all the shots. They kept saying no to the ferry, and I believe they said no to the ferry because it was going to cost too much. So days go by, and days in the middle of a brewing revolution are very, very long. And they said, you got to go to the airport. They bought tickets for everybody. They did all this. They chartered, a British Airlines, whatever they did. They seemed to think they did it right. And I'm telling the boss, and the boss is telling the deputy chief of mission, or the chief of mission at that point. And she's telling Washington, and no one in Washington gave a shit. And they're like, nope. So we sent all the families to the airport. Whoever was with them, I think it was the military attaché, he's all like, dude, we're not going any further. This is terrible. The chief's wife's out there. She calls him and says like, hell no, we're not going here. They turn around, come back. And now we've wasted days. We finally get the ferry. And that's when the weather was so bad. Everybody got on the ferry and they're like, it's too dangerous to go out and to depart from Tripoli to go to Malta on the ferry. The weather's just bad. And then they sat on it for 2 straight days. And then they left under worse weather conditions 2 days later because they had to go. But that's my point. And I'm just talking 4 days, whatever it was, where they could have done the right thing. And a week before that, and 2 weeks before that, something's about to happen. This is easy. Be like, hey guys, this might be a precaution, but we're sending everybody to freaking Rome for the next week to see how things pan out. Nice little paid vacation for your families. You guys stay there to do the work, and that would have solved so many problems.
You don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis to start preparing or planning for it.
And it was somehow all about money the entire time. We're talking small amounts of
because famously spoken, what does it matter anymore? What does it matter anymore? Those 4 guys are already dead. What does it matter anymore, David? You know, if you guys all would have been held hostage and some of you killed, you know, once it was, what does it matter anymore? You know, boys and girls, that's who you have. Oh, I want to turn this into a recent election, you know, thing, but I don't want to. Let's just stay focused. That's on me. But the worst people are the people who have never done it. Their kids have never done it, never will do it, but they sure love talking a big game when they're back in DC, or, you know, whether it's in Washington or Langley or wherever it is. When your life's not, if you're not coming through the door with me, just a stupid little side story. I had a bunch of bullshit intel in a different theater of operation one time, and I had a different bullshit, stupid fucking chief. And you know, and I'd already like proven that the intel was horrible. I backed it up with ISR. I asked some questions about this. It was bullshit fucking intel. And, you know, and I'm like, well, okay, let's just even hypothetically say it is true. Well, why don't I go on this next hilltop back here where my ground forces, I can get in there undetected. We're Uncle Sugar. I can have ISR. I'm on the ground. These are just guys walking through the night. I'll be able to see them. And if they're a threat to then we'll drop bombs. We'll kill them. I'll go there and we'll go through the bodies. We'll process the SSE, you know, the pocket litter, the sensitive site exploitation stuff. We'll do all that stuff. Good guys win, bad guys lose. But because somebody who wasn't going to go through the door with me had read too many books, they wanted me to try to sneak my team into the village wasn't hostile to America, but it wasn't our friend. Like, how in the fuck am I sneaking a bunch of guys? Just total. What book did you fucking read? So, David, I'm just bringing it back to that right there.
Oh yeah, and that's how Washington thinks. And I still, you know, looking back, I still give a lot of credit to the personnel who were at the embassy for saving hundreds of lives against the odds, not just against the odds of the environment that we were operating in, but against the odds of our own government that was putting barriers up or dragging their feet or just playing their own games. You know, they were afraid if we evacuate the country, Gaddafi's going to get pissed off. Dude, then keep the essential Americans behind. Like, this is our point.
Or a better yet, then don't fucking start a war with Gaddafi when he was helping us kill fucking actual terrorists. I mean, don't pick a fight with a guy. Hey, I'm going to take a little control. It's a great story. And seriously, people leave a comment or a thought. I mean, David is right. I've only seen one other person do it. And David, if it's the same person I'm thinking of, it was a newspaper article. Is that what you're thinking of?
No, it was actually a book that was just released by.
Oh, I don't know it then. Was that somebody who was there with us, or is this part of the second part of the story?
Military attaché's wife.
Oh, yeah. Hey, probably still great perspective, but it's not going to be the perspective from the skiff. But absolutely. But so hey, I'm not rich. David's doing all right, but he's got 2 kids and a wife. He ain't rich, really. You just heard him talk about, I really want to drink scotch, but now I got to drink bourbon because it's cheaper. Fucking money. But the reason we bringing that full circle back over, and the reason I wanted to have this episode 1 is because, again, for me, selfishly, as a human being, I need to start getting this stuff off my chest too, because as David said, no one's talking about this. No, this is forgotten history already. And 4 Americans died. And look, and I, how many innocent Libyans? That country is still fucked up to this day. The people who made those decisions were the people who never had any of that experience, never really gave a shit. It was all about having a kill. It was all about having a kill for my politics. So politically, I can say I did something like this, which you didn't because you were sitting back there drinking your gin and tonics. But that's what it's for. And a shit ton of Libyans, just like in Afghanistan, just like Iraq, just like every other place where we have illegally overturned a country. Not every place, but quite a few. And we tend to fuck it up and then just, oh, you guys handled the mess. And we're not doing anything over there right now. So, hey, last comment on that, and then I'm going to switch gears, but I'm going to give you one more on the embassy portion.
Oh, so yeah, I don't know where else I was going to go with that. I mean, like I said, the article goes through it. It was a chaotic time. When we talk about failures of leadership, there was a whole series of failures leading up to the event requiring us. And remember, we evacuated and lost our embassy in Tripoli nearly 18 months before we were attacked in Benghazi. No one hears about that 18 months. Like, it made the news just for a little bit, but got overshadowed by what was happening in Egypt. Syria started blowing up at some point. What we were doing was pretty hush hush anyways. So we were off the news cycle, but we actually lost an embassy. We abandoned it, sure, but I was there as the flag came down, right? As we decided this is no longer American soil, the last one out, and that's not something that no one tells that story. And it blows me away because no one died, thank God. Maybe that's why, but it is a part of our history.
Wow.
It is a part of the history of the people who were there.
Well, let's you and I have another conversation offline. Maybe we don't find a generous Elon Musk sponsor as a result of this podcast, but maybe we start, I would be more than willing to help you. Maybe we just start doing some articles and we just release it, an article, quote, chapter at a time for Reno dads. And if it comes together nicely enough, then maybe that is a ebook or something like that. But I would definitely help you write that, my good man. Because you have as David said, you have a slightly different perspective on that. Hey, as I transition, there's no way we're doing this in an hour. So everybody hit pause, do what you need to do. Go get pour your, top off your beverage, the bathroom. I'm going to read some comments, David, and then I got a quick question for you. And then we'll go into phase 2. Well, actually, what should phase 2 be? Should we just go into the capitalist caliphate and the road trip? Or should we talk about Benghazi as well? Because look, dude, if we go into Benghazi, that's another whole 50 minutes easily.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you think about it while I read comments. Just give everybody a little bit of shout out. So this is from, 30, not quite 30 minutes ago. Phil, Gaddafi had to go because he was undermining the dollars. Well, very good job on your history. That's actually and that may have been why the powers to be. Well, he's a douchebag I need to kill, and he's trying to move us off the gold standard. I mean, and, somebody needs a bad guy. Let's villainize him. So, but good point, Phil. AVV. This is what I like to hear. The grunts whose story we never hear. And then he said, and for you guys don't know, grunts, just soldiers, guys in the trenches. I took it with all the love and respect that you meant it with there, AV. So thank you. And so David will get embarrassed sometimes because I always call him and a couple other people up. When I was with David, I wasn't in uniform. I was with the agency. But I'll call these guys up on Veterans Day and give them a happy Veterans Day as well. And they'll be like, I was never in uniform. I'm like, dude, you're a veteran of the psychic wars. Like that is still conflict. That is still somebody's trying to fucking kill you, shooting at you. I don't care whether you were in civilian clothes or, in your dress uniform. Does somehow the clothing make a distinction between that? I don't think so. David is definitely a veteran of the psychic war. So yes, he is a grunt, and he's the type of grunt you need in the foxhole next to you because he's funny as hell and he can get the goddamn job done. So all the way to big shout out to DB here. And then AVV. Yeah, there it is. At this point, what difference does it make? Exactly. That still pisses me off to this day. How no one held her accountable for that statement. Like, are you fucking kidding me? So I didn't know. 3 of those. So 4 Americans died. I met Stevens. And we'll see how that comes out into this next part of the conversation. I never met the GRS guys, the global response services, our like security guys. Because I never met them. Ground Branch, we kind of do our own thing. I never met those guys, but I know people who went through training with those guys. And the commo officer, I never met him, Maybe I saw him, but I never shook hands or really talked to the guy. Maybe I saw him once, but to your point, what are you fucking talking about? What difference does it make at this point? Are you fucking kidding me? And dude, they never let the truth come out. I mean, when it first happened, the internet was still a little bit loosey goosey, and you like, just like when Gaddafi died, you're like, did you ever really see how he died? Did you ever see Steve? Like, no, they try to hide that information because they wanted to AVV's point. At this point, what difference does it make? Well, I don't know. Our ambassador was brutally fucking murdered. Yeah, what are you talking about? All right, DB, coming back to me, just breeze through those. AVV, thanks for pouring a little fuel on the fire there. Personally, Declaration of my independence. Why were you there? Declaration.
He's referring to Benghazi in the first place.
Say that again, DB?
That 18 months that I keep mentioning, that's what nobody knows. Why were we there? That's what she's asking.
Gotcha.
This is a friend. She asks me that all the time, and my answer is usually, I don't know.
Thank you. I actually didn't understand it. So, okay, that's cool that you just said that. All right, that makes a little bit more sense. Well, okay, so are you going to address that in part 2 here, or what we're going to do next?
Sure. I mean, we could get there, but I mean, I think it's not as clear as an answer. I don't know. Give you an hour. How do you talk about why we were in Benghazi in the first place?
Because somebody in Washington wanted some kills and they wanted to get reelected or elected. And it was all, again, and it's not the people who are ever going to go through the door with you. It's some other fucking retard. And we'll get to this again. Me and one other American and an Arabic speaking local are hanging out with terrorists. We're trying to do our job. And then you come to find out your country just killed bin Laden that night. And so in communications, you always hear PACE, primary, alternate, contingency, emergency. I've always tried to do PACE ++ in all my combat operations. So I had 6 forms of communication. Okay, I get it. You can't reach out and let, little old me know that you guys are going on, bin Laden's compound. But you could, but what we're doing, that the area we're operating, you could have easily said, yeah, just don't do that operation tomorrow. Or after it's over, use one of the 6 forms of fucking calling me and saying, you need to turn around and go back to base. Cause these guys might kill you. So there you go. Why we're there? Because other people wanted us to be there so they could, David, what is it? So they can get another check on their OERs on their, no, what do we call them? Not OERs. The evaluation reports. What do they call it?
I can't even remember.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and then Gene, as it's Friday, red, Tennessee, damage is the distance traveled from innocence. It took 12 years to go from idealistic to jaded. Tennessee, I don't know if you're saying I'm jaded, but maybe I'm a little bit. Jesus, we expect our wives or husbands to betray us, but our country, well, I hope no one ever fucking betrays you, husband, wife, friend, or your damn country. Come around for next week's live stream because we're going to talk about Veterans Affairs stuff. So yeah, your country really don't give too much of a fuck about you previously. Maybe that'll change. AVV. I think it's if you were feeding info to U.S. ground pounds from this, I'd consider you a veteran. Yeah, that's to you, David. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. He's a veteran, veteran of the psychic wars. Declaration has given us confirmation. Yep, that was her question. That's what she meant. Tennessee, we are all expendable, I guess, knowing it's special that reality doesn't go down easily. I heard somebody once say to me, Tennessee, and I'll maybe turn this to DB for his thoughts. And it always, again, to that point, it's always spoken by people who are never going to go through the door with you. They're never going out there. It's like somebody said once, you're paid to go out. You're not paid to come back home. And I'm just like, what the fuck did you just say to me? Like, well, then get in the vehicle with me. Come on this fucking mission. Or like, did you really just say that to me? So I'm not really 100% sure how I feel about that. Again, we're all going to die. Not a single one of us are getting out alive, right? But if it's going to happen, I want to at least set it up so I've got a good chance of winning. I at least can go down swinging, as opposed to, here's me and one other guy surrounded by 100 dudes. Look, I don't care what movie or book you've ever read or watched. That's not reality. You know, maybe, you know, you are lucky if you can pull off some Shoot Garden Gordon stuff from Black Hawk Down, and, you know, you got enough ammo and you can at least take 20 or 30 of those fuckers with you. But you ain't winning that fight. They're just, you know, that just isn't reality. That doesn't happen. Not, well, I mean, maybe if you have ground support, air support, you know, artillery, all that kind of stuff, maybe, but not just two dudes with pistols and maybe an MP5. You ain't winning that fight any day. So, all right, DB.
Well, on that, when he mentions, you know, we're not that special, I'll share my favorite story about how not special we were. And this is going to bother you a little bit. The challenge coin.
Oh, and the fucking hat. Why did you bring that up? Oh,
the hat's all me. But the challenge coin for and I have one, but Libyan operations, they came up with this great challenge coin, and I think it's actually bigger than your typical challenge coin, right? Because we got huge egos, and this challenge coin is like big, half the size of a face, and it's the operations in Libya, February 2011, whatever it says, has a new Libyan map on it, and very clever design. It's massive. And I remember getting back to Washington and seeing one. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's so awesome. Where do I get one of those? Right? We all want our swag. And they're like, oh, no. That was for the headquarters folks. And I'm just like, wait, you guys are spending all this time designing a challenge coin for just the dudes who sat back in Washington calling all the shots, and I don't get one? And I mean, that was the story. And I walked around, I'm like, wait, this is surreal. This makes zero sense. We're the ones downrange. I mean, what the hell, right? We're the ones putting our lives in danger day in and day out. And I don't get a challenge coin. So, you know, being clever, I, of course, procured myself a challenge coin from some dude who wasn't paying attention, but, you know.
Well, and like, not only not paying attention, but didn't deserve it. Because, you know, unless he was one of your brothers and sisters there, no, whatever, dude, you know. And you know the deal. I can say this. So again, I went back to quit. Then this happened. And it wasn't for the greater country or the glory of God. It was because I knew everybody over there, and that's why I stayed in. And so I stayed in to see that fucking thing through. And I ended up working that desk until then. Now we're getting closer to the Benghazi time. But so for those initial periods, I'm sitting in, you know, in headquarters, getting ready to start my Glock, you know, in the main building and dealing with these douchebags. And I had to work that desk for a while. And, you know, so to your point, DB, those guys got coins, you know, not you guys who, you know, hey, for right or wrong, you know, and I thought I was going to go in one direction on the withdrawal. I'm just going to save that for another time or not talk about it. But like, look, man, I don't care who you are. Audie Murphy himself definitely made mistakes while he was a soldier. There's plenty. Sometimes his mistakes probably worked out well and he didn't die and his men didn't die. But I'm here to tell you, there's not a single person out there who's perfect in any stretch of the imagination. And combat is one of the most complex, fast moving, holy shit type of moments, you know, things. People make mistakes. So, you know, we don't need to maybe focus on some of them. Some of them were a little egregious, and that's kind of going to the DB's point. Like, don't chalk up to malice, you know, which you can attribute to stupidity or bureaucracy. But, you know, we don't know what we don't know. But that right there, that really pissed me off a lot right there was that bullshit. You know, like, hang on a second. You didn't give it to the guys and gals who were down there actually fucking doing it. You gave it to the people who were sitting back in headquarters, going to Christmas parties, having Friday socials, you know, walking down to the coffee shop, you know, for 4 hours a day. Yeah. You know, no, don't give it to David and those guys. Give it to those fucking ass clowns. So,
and in fairness, I mean, headquarters, they played a role, but they forgot the people downrange.
But that's it right there, David. Sorry to argue with you. The role is to support the people
That's true.
downrange. So
that's literally their purpose. Yeah.
I know you and I have talked about this. So I was trying to support the people downrange, even though I hated being at that cubicle for a couple months. The mission was to support them. Even if I didn't like somebody as a person, they're still there. We need to support them. Dude, that got me. Okay, I'm going to say this. I remember sitting in the office spaces and the director comes through. Right. That's a big deal, right? Somebody comes from, up on high and is down in your little space. And somebody had said, and I can't say the name, but, points to me, says a name. Yeah, he had been over there. And then he looks at me and he starts asking me a question. And I'm in all of the staff headquarters, bureaucrat, self-protecting mofos are behind him. And I could just see their eyes because I'd already been in arguments and fights with them because they weren't supporting David. It was all about, well, we've got to do 7. I'm like, dude, just fucking help. The guy knows what he's talking about. Just fucking give him what they need. But they were behind and their eyes just got so big. And I answered the question he asked me and I just did it professionally. And I gave him, my honest, professional opinion. And he kind of looked at me. He's like, yeah, I agree with you. I think that it could happen that way, just like you said. And then once he agreed, then I could see everybody like, oh my God, thank God that, because I had a nickname. Thank God. And the nickname is based off of an operational. And so anyway, I could just see them like, oh, thank God so-and-so didn't fuck us over right there. And truth be told, David, I probably should have fucked them over right there because that's all I'm trying to get at. Those guys didn't give a fuck about you guys. They cared about whatever their evaluation report was and how they were going to write this up. And I guess apparently giving themselves challenge coins and nobody else, and performance awards and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. It was a series. Like I said, I don't ever think it was malicious. I just think it was pure unfettered ineptitude at the highest level. They were there 9 to 5. Obviously you get seduced by the Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts downstairs and the Subway and the dining commons, like no one actually puts in 9 straight. I mean, they do, but I'm just making light of it. It's so easy to get lost when you're in headquarters. You get trapped downstairs, you run into your old buddies and the day is gone. And that's
when somebody in your office space says, hey, I'm going to go down and get a coffee. I always just looked at my watch, made a mental note of what time it was. And I said, we'll see them in between 2 and 4 hours. They're not coming back for like 2 to 4 hours. Basically, that was code word for I'm going to go walk the halls and fuck around and try to see if I can run into some of my classmates or flirt with somebody in the, as they see, I wasn't even going to say what's in the facility, but you just did. So,
I think it's pretty clear.
Whatever.
Didn't we joke that it was like the busiest Dunkin' Donuts on the East Coast?
I think we have made comments like that. Yeah, maybe we have. Yeah. So yeah. And the East Coast loves their double D's, right? And hey, for all you former Marines, I don't mean any slight. I didn't just use the double D in a negative way. I'm just talking about Dunkin' Donuts. Yeah. Anyway, hey David, we're gonna go into the final part for tonight. Again, we're just gonna see where these conversations go. But maybe we don't necessarily talk about. Maybe we don't necessarily talk about Benghazi, the actual attack. Maybe we just talk about our time there because the capital's caliphate. I can't keep teasing it. And that's another thing. You and I working with, my buddy Steven, who helps with the designs like on this awesome hoodie. Maybe we put together a capitalist caliphate. I'm not even.
Yeah.
That would be good. That'd be awesome. But here's just a quick few comments that came in. Declaration of mine. Okay, well, that's where we left off. Tennessee, we are all expendable. Guest known as special. I think that's where we left off.
Yeah.
At least it's your stupidity, as you said. Yeah, exactly. If let it be mine. As long as it's just me and my stupidity doesn't negatively affect anyone else. Tennessee again. That's the reality when you look behind you and no one is standing there. You're it. You are the expendable one. Yeah, I guess.
That's my favorite one.
This is for you. Yeah. You tactically acquired that coin, sir. That's what that's for you, DB. And then declarations popping out. So love you guys. I'll listen to more later. Well, Declaration, thanks for coming over and just listening to us tonight for a while. Anyway. All right. Before we go into Okay.
really quick, and I have to because I have to brag about something really cool. We're talking about downstairs, how you lose track of time during there's this the new employee orientation, whatever that is for the CIA. They mentioned if you see something that needs to be fixed or an improvement, a process related, whatever, they just give us a spiel. They said, go to this website here, internal website, and tell us about it. And I sat downstairs in the cafeteria area and I'm noticing I have nothing to do, right? I'm in training. I'm just waiting for class to start back up. And I'm noticing the people who are sitting there were there before, or they were there when I went into training. I came out of the training and they're still sitting there. And I looked around. We can't have our phones, right? For some reason, no one wears watches. There's no clocks in the entire cafeteria. So I submitted not a request, but a recommendation to put clocks in visible areas in the cafeteria so people aren't wasting all their time down there. And sure as shit, they actually did it, and I got an award. I got a
Wow.
CIA award. I've never seen it because because I'm undercover, and that wasn't that you know what it was, but some random award. I think it was called the Pulse Award, and it goes in my file, and I felt like a freaking hero. I'm like, look at all these people I made work, all these bureaucrats.
That is a badge of honor, and you definitely deserve a, because no longer can they simply say, oh, I just lost track of time. We were talking about operational details in the cafeteria around cafeteria workers, and that's
visitors.
Yeah, and visitors and all that. But that was my excuse for not being, for being away from the office for three hours. Hey, DB, before we go into the next one, into the let's do the capitalist caliphate. We're at a little over an hour. Let's just do this and see what happens. But I got one more serious question for you. So during the time that we worked with each other, I'm just kind of curious. So how many illegal substances did you either feed me, given to me in my drink, or shoot me? Like, how for the MK Ultra program, did you did the chief of station tell you to do that, or was that headquarters telling you to fuck with me from an MK Ultra perspective? How did that really work? If you can talk
just unilaterally, it was me just being the ultimate troll of the embassy. I just go around and drop that stuff in your guys' drinks. It was just me getting I go off to my office, the corner of my cubicle area, and just laugh myself to sleep. It was all me. Oh man.
All right. I'm gonna ask one last question, because we're gonna do one more giveaway, just because why not? It's fun. That one wasn't good enough. It didn't come out. I just kind of spur of the moment was making, I had a little note, MK Ultra. My next one has to do with Area 51. So when you were evacuated, did they fly you into Area 51, or did you guys fly into Dulles? Where did you guys land? I mean, how did that work for you?
Area 51, we had to drop off our spawn of alien children, of course. I actually read a book I found incredible ways to avoid dealing with the bureaucrats in Washington during assignments. When you're there just for a month or two of processing, polygraph, whatever it is. I was told there's nothing for me to do to just go find something, right? So I went down to the library. CIA has a library with classified books. And I just sat down there reading, and I read the classified history of the CIA's first 30 years. It's like 1947 to 1977. And it talks about Area 51 as if, this book's written during, 81, 82, before I'm born. And I'm just like sitting here thinking wow, they just have all this classified information out here that's just, I was let down. It wasn't as sexy as I thought now that it's all declassified. But I was like, oh, this sucks. I finally get my hands on the cool stuff, looking for JFK's assassination, I'm down there doing everything everybody dreams of doing in the agency, just looking for the skeletons, and I found nothing. So disappointed.
They've got those skeletons all hidden out in Area 51. So before we get into the capitalist caliphate, the road trip from hell. So this is the final question for everybody who's still watching here right now. So we have these next business day. This is the everyday carry belt pouch. I kept one of the Ranger Green the Ranger Green Coyote Browns because I knew I was going to do something with it. And so that's what I'm going to do here tonight. So it's a little bit larger than an Altoids tin, meant to go on your belt. Use it as emergency fire, emergency signal, emergency shelter. You can throw some, honestly, it takes Glock magazines. So, but that's going to be the other giveaway for tonight. One of these guys, the last of the Ranger Green Coyote Browns from the next business day. But David, I think the question should be, just because we said Area 51, and I'm going to take it away from the kind of being a smart ass question towards you, like, where did you land? But how about whether you want to give us an honest answer? Now, David is still going to be the judge. He's the judge, commander of ceremonies here. An honest answer or a smart ass answer, you answer how you want. My question is going to be this, and you throw JFK, throw declassification writ large into this question. Should Donald J. Trump, should his administration, should Area 51, the JFK, should all of these things be declassified? Is that too big of a question, David, or is that kind of the intent there?
So I think you look at, anything that can be declassified should be declassified.
Well, yeah, you can't declassify who's your source in the Kremlin giving you up to date, day to day. Like, that's not what we're talking about, right? Yeah, no, we're talking about this. Well, and honestly, if there's here, I'm just going to say it before you answer, because this is my honest opinion. If there's alien technology in Area 51, if there is real proof of aliens, there's absolutely zero reason that should be classified. And somebody could say, well, national defense. Well, you can say national security about every fucking thing. But if it happened, you don't think it hasn't happened someplace else? I mean, like, what is it? Because I think, and this is why I asked that question, I just realized, because if we come to find out that there really is free energy, or there's 0 point, whatever it is, and our government's been sitting on it for 50 years because people just want to stay in power and have control over the rest of us, no bueno, dude. I'm not cool with that.
Yeah, so let's start with Area 51. I mean, most of it's been declassified, and as I learned while I was snooping around the library of the agency, it's not as sexy as everybody thinks. You learn that it's a training center where we developed advanced aircraft, and then we transferred it from the CIA to either the DoD or the Air Force, one and the same, where they were running basically the same thing. So the whole aliens thing, come on, man. When Trump was president, you don't think that dude would have loved the opportunity to be forever remembered as the guy who said, hey, guys, there are aliens?
Disagree. And here's why. Because Pompeo's back in the news, that snake in the grass Pompeo. And there's already commentary that's leaking out that because Trump during the first term said he was going to declassify all the JFK issues, and that Pompeo apparently. So now whether this is people trying to smear Pompeo, like, I don't know. This is just me reading shit, speculation, however you want to call it. But Pompeo apparently was the one who dissuaded him from releasing the JFK files. Now, Pompeo, then, who just a few months ago was saying that Smith and everybody should continue with the persecution if Trump goes to jail. And now that Trump has won, Pompeo's singing a different tune. So from a sourcing perspective, agency, that's a shitty source. You would never want that guy. He was very unreliable, right? So I don't know what to believe there on that point. But to your comment, though, I just had to throw it out there. I'm not 100% sure. And more importantly, with this new group, I'm even less sure. If there is information, I'm even like, I have a greater sense of, yeah, we might actually start learning some truths. I really think some things might get declassified.
I hope so. I hope he wrecks shop on that front, and only selfishly, because I want to know. Like, I want to know. I want my skepticism, which I'm just a complete natural skeptic. I want my skepticism to be challenged. And I still maintain all the establishment type presidents and politicians, yeah, they're going to protect power in the government. You can love or hate Trump. You could be all about Kamala. You could do whatever you want. But the one thing we're all going to agree on, if Trump has an opportunity to be that dude who just tells us that there's life, intelligent life from outside of our planet, you know he wants that. You know he will live forever. Come on.
Yeah, so I'm distracting this. I think that is exactly what has to happen this time around. You've got a mandate. You have the power. Use it. And if you don't use it, like 180 days from now, if we're not seeing some serious forward progress along these lines, then what the fuck what was this all about? Then we might as well have just been communists and just said fuck it and eaten, grew turnips for the rest of our lives. So,
but with the thing about the JFK, so they do keep releasing it, but you can't release things piecemeal. And I get it. You're protecting sources, you're protecting methods, you're protecting people who are still alive, who were some level of participant of that event or the events that took place after. But the way they're releasing it, like, I think the one where the CIA killed Kennedy, that document that came out like 2 or 3 years ago, whatever it was like raw intel from a random, like, if you read it, it's just like stuff that shouldn't be released out of context without, I don't know, you just have to release things in context or help people understand this is raw. This is some random dude, freaking, he could have been on drugs. He could have just been trolling us, whatever. But when they release it, 40, 50 years, whatever it's been, 60, Jesus, whatever it's been, the joke's no longer there. We don't get it. We don't understand the method of, or what kind of information that was from. And that's where you started seeing the CIA killed Kennedy, and you read it and you're like, damn, this isn't what you guys think it is. They need to release it they need to release it first of all, but definitely in a more methodical way to where it makes sense, where it could be, where historians could look at it and tell us the story of what happened, as opposed to just piecemeal, give us a little bit of drip here, a little bit of drip there. And I think that's kind of what's sullied the entire JFK document release thing. And we're still asking for what else happened.
Okay. Well, so let me just grab this for a second, kind of bring it back over to the contest. And then I think that would set us up, because we should give everybody a couple minutes, because we've already taken the conversation away from the context or the contest. The question was Area 51. There's no right answer, wrong answer. We just want to see, some comments, and we'll, DB will pick the best one. What should we do with Area 51? I think I sidetracked us, and I apologize, everybody, because the JFK assassination, that's obviously, another thing that kind of fits together in that same box of goodies that is like Area 51 and so many other MK Ultra and so many other type of operations like that. So leave a comment right now. Best comment about Area 51. I just came up with one in my head that actually would have been a winner chicken dinner. Go with it wherever you want. Let's give that a couple minutes to brew. I'm going to get us caught up, though, on comments while you guys are thinking about that, because we'll give one away here. I think we left off with Angry Viking Veteran. That was 10 minutes ago. Laughing out loud, something we said 10 minutes ago. No offense, sir. I don't even remember what we said 10 minutes ago. Tennessee, thanks you guys for doing a bit of a deep dive. Interesting stuff we otherwise wouldn't know. Hey, look, we're just figuring this out, what we're going to do and how we're going to do this here tonight. I guarantee, Tennessee, if DB comes back on and we start having, I guess, serious conversations. I mean, there's, because we're just skimming the surface here just to try to have fun and just like figure out where this podcast is going to go going forward. Tennessee apparently has these in her cart. Okay, well, you might be able to win one and take that other one out of your cart. Gene, he wants to meet Thor and at the Stargate, Asgard. That's actually a pretty good comment right there. Yeah. So release the fucking goddamn Area 51. If those fucking Avengers are down inside of Area 51 and Loki comes jumping through, and then yes, I want to know about that shit so we can be a little bit better prepared. So that actually might go into one of the answers there, DB, is because he wants to have that whole scene from the Avengers or whatever Avengers. I think it's Avengers. AVV, everything that isn't a current live program, I say let it out. AVV, I agree, because what David and I are saying, sources and methods. Like there's stuff that I'm technically not authorized to say. And David and I talked about this. Like, should I actually do what the agency wants me to do? Like, if I did that, it would just look so stupid. And that was my point. But, but to David's point, but there still are people who are still alive. Well, I mean, I honestly, I don't even know. Maybe some of those people are still alive. I know the Americans I'm talking about are alive, but we always have to be, because we're professionals, we are always conscious and, cognizant of that. So it does make things, even if you've got clearances, or the authorization to talk about it, there's still a part of, in the back of your mind. It's like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't talk about that, because what if that guy's still alive, or did they make it out of there? Or, or is so-and-so doing shit? So it's just, it can get a little bit tough. Okay. So, but I agree with you. I think it should be, I think we should be way more open about that. Much less classification. Wasn't the Project Aurora jet developed for Lockheed? That's kind of what David alluded to. A lot of the tech that we see actually started SR-71 Blackbird, for example.
A-12.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's that. Yeah, exactly. The technical name, right? So Tennessee, and of course, money, liquid gold. There's that little research facility on the West Coast, the bowels of ineptitude. What is in that little research school? Moving on to the next comment. AVV, Trump. Well, AVV, you're hitting home runs. Yeah, there's no fucking way. If Trump lets Mike Pompeo anywhere into his circles, I'll automatically just be like, oh, here we go. Now another just government fuck up. Tennessee, question authority wisely. Or I guess maybe she's saying we should question angry Viking veteran. I don't know. Why the hell should the JFK files be classified, redact any current living people? Yeah, okay. Tennessee, maybe we are the joke. Yeah, could very well be. Yeah, we won't know everything. Well, but see, that's kind of go back to the beginning of the show. I mean, there are things that, well, we just shouldn't be. Maybe there's things we can be 100% transparent on. Other things, because of sources and method, operations, a smart man can put things together. So the more you say, the more you're kind of just feeding into your adversary. So you still have to be questioned. I mean, intelligence is the cornerstone of staying alive. I like this one right here, David. I say we have Area 51 tour buses. Let the government make a little bit of money while giving the people some entertainment. That's not a bad, seriously, because look, David, we need the money because of our deficit. I mean, we are so fucked on our national debt. AVV might, because people would pay probably $1,000 a ticket just to get a tour of Area 51. We could make some money. 365 days away a year, 100 people, do the math. I mean, we might make a little bit of money. That's not a bad idea right there.
Outside of Area 51, I drive past it when we go to Vegas. Vegas about 7 hours from here. And my kids always ask me, like, where's Area 51? Where's Area 51? And there's this little town called Rachel. You guys probably heard of it, the alien visitor center. And I'm like, it's just right down that road. Unfortunately, it's way down that road. And it's way down that road. Yeah. Miserable drive. I mean, we've already been driving through the desert for 7 hours. So, yeah.
Just stay hydrated. Stay hydrated.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Phil. I think they released Area 51 info when they decided to run the Operation Blue Beam plan. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, now we're getting some answers here. All right, that's pretty good. What does declassified mean to the powers that declassified? Yeah, who's watching the watchers? Gene or Bender, you meat bags. I mean, Gene is probably having a little bit of fun. We got a little bit, and then Angry Viking saying Tennessee. That's a fair point. All right, David, I want to go into the capitalist caliphate. We're almost at an hour 30. If anyone's willing to stick around, to do it justice, this is probably 20 to 30 minutes, David. I mean, what do you think?
Probably 20.
Okay.
I mean, we could get it done.
All right. That's the first one. We might have to revisit it. So, David, who is the winner chicken dinner?
Between Tennessee and Gene, who have been very engaged in the conversation. What are the odds you have an extra one of those?
Hold on, say that again.
What are the odds you have an extra one of those?
An extra one of the pouches?
Yeah. Tennessee and Gene. No, I already have like 4 of them, remember? Tennessee and Gene have just been very active. I love what they're saying. They're participating. I would hate to pick between one of them. I'm just saying, maybe we got two going.
Oh, well, okay. Now, if I may, this is how it should work. We're all adults. I'm going to go with your decision, but I just want to bring this back up there one more time because that was fucking funny. That was pretty fucking good. You know, it may not have been as active, but that was pretty fucking funny. And Tennessee, yep, you're right. She's very active. But dude, she already has 2 in her shopping cart. You know, wink, wink, nod, nod. You know what the fuck, man? This is how I keep these lights on, dude. What are you doing to me? And Gene, he's just a good guy. You know, he'll go either way with it. But so okay, final decision here. So it sounds like you've got 3 contenders. You got Tennessee, Gene, and you got Phil. Make a decision.
We'll go with the spirit of the contest. Phil said the funny one. Sorry, guys. How about that?
See, that was my MK Ultra Blue Beam, CIA training working on him right there. All right, Phil. And we're going to move on to hang on, there were some questions. So this is kind of funny, but Phil is the winner. Tennessee says, "Oh, baby." Gene says, "You take it." And then Tennessee says, "What the fuck?" And then he says, "Gene just gave it." Well, Gene didn't win it to give it to you, Tennessee. I don't know what to say. The winner chicken dinner on the EDC belt pouch per our man DB with maybe a little bit of MK Ultra influence going on here. Phil. So Phil, shoot me an email. Give me all of your shipping information, full name, all that kind of crap. And I will drop this in the mail for you, sir. Ranger Green, Coyote Brown. All right, that's it for our contests for this first episode. I probably won't be able to do that every episode, but you can see I kind of want to have a little bit of fun. It's Friday night. I'm a loser. This was a ton of fun for me. I hope you guys who are still with us are having fun, or if you watch this later, but I can't turn this into a Joe Rogan podcast. It can't be 3 hours. So on that note, let's bring it back over to DB. And DB, however you want to take the story, let's talk about the capitalist caliphate.
All right. So trying to think, what's the best way other than just get into it? So we're already there and we're in Benghazi. This is months after we have evacuated the embassy in Tripoli. We're all back in there. I don't even know how long we have been in Benghazi at this point. But the main idea was Gaddafi's making some serious progress against the rebel enemy or the rebel lines. So we were thinking, I guess, I suppose I could say all this. I can't remember. But we're thinking, what happens if they get through Benghazi? What's our fallback?
I'm going to bring up a map. I don't know if this will help at all when you're talking, but go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, so you might want to blow up if you can the Benghazi.
Yeah, it's not letting me do it, so I apologize. But can you see? I can't see anybody right now. Can you see the cursor?
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, I'll get into it. So we're thinking, how are we going to continue this fight, continue supporting these militias and rebels if Gaddafi takes Benghazi? So what's the plan? You and your team were thinking, hey, we gotta fall back. There's these towns back east. Let's see if we could go. There's a seaport over there. Let's go see if that seaport would be able to be deep enough, or whatever you guys' assessment was for getting supplies in through the sea. There's an airport down that way, or a military airport down that way. And the idea was, if we lose Benghazi, we got to back up somewhere. So hence the road trip. And you guys all were getting ready. And for some reason, and I can't remember how I even got involved. You might have just said, "Hey, you want to go?" And I was like,
"Well, no, you're
let's do it."
No, dude, that's your wheelhouse too.
True.
I mean, like, so hey, just if I may, David's being a little, I mean, we're trying to, again, we didn't really rehearse anything. We're trying to figure out how to talk about something we've never talked about outside of our conversations with ourselves or what we our personal experience with each other. But he did a great job. There was a moment where it's like, hey, if this fails or if this falls, where are we going to fucking go? So it got tasked to us to try to go figure this out. So me, because of my background and what my job in the agency was, that obviously kind of falls into us. But on the other hand, you need David there too, right? Because that, because everything's, supporting, right? Everything is like a hand in a glove. So David, honestly, in hindsight, there may have been a little bit, hey, what are you doing today? But you had to come with on that mission. It's been a while now, but I'm like, hang on, maybe he is right. Maybe I just like, hey, are you bored right now? Why don't you come with me?
And I remember a lot of that because the guy they sent there to babysit me, that's the only way I'm going to ever talk about that freaking dude. But, him and I were butting heads, and it was like, I'm leaving this place. I'm going to go out into the desert by myself if this guy is still around me. So whatever opportunity came up, however it ended up going, we all jump into into the truck, and you guys are all getting armed up. We're have the Glock. I think you guys had like rifles or whatever you had, but we're like, what's wrong? Derna is about 4 hours east of us. We're going on a fucking road trip. So we literally get out into the truck, the Hilux, and we just start driving east, 4 freaking hours east to the wonderful town of Derna, Libya. But on the way, we're going through checkpoint after checkpoint, and then there's absolutely nothing, no checkpoints, just random roads. And we're starting to see some beautiful countryside, some beautiful little towns, right? You would almost forget that you're in the middle of a war. And there's this ancient Roman town called Apollonia, and I remember that because it's right before we get to the Mediterranean coast. So we go down this hill, passing Apollonia, all the Roman ruins over to our left that no Westerner ever gets to see. The Libyans don't give a shit either, right? So all these ruins, and we're just thinking, man, we got to make it back here someday. This is amazing. So we go down.
And just to emphasize the point, I'm sure there were some Westerners, maybe Italians or something like that, but literally speaking, David and I are looking at Roman ruins that an incredibly small number of Europeans or Westerners had seen since World War II. And they're fucking unbelievable. And like you just said, and the Libyans didn't give a fuck. I mean, but yeah,
it wasn't their thing. And we pull down the hill, and all we see is the beautiful Mediterranean. Like I said, you almost forget you're in this war-torn country. The green mountains on the right, and we're driving
that's
along
the south. For anybody who doesn't figure it out, we're going east, so the right-hand side is south. But
yeah, so we're headed east, Mediterranean. To our left, we're looking up at the mountains, big, beautiful mountains. And we're thinking, what would be absolutely amazing? Because all the talk right now is all that ISIS has all their caliphates going, and it's like caliphate this, caliphate that. Why not us? Why can't we set up a caliphate? And we're thinking, dude, we should build a resort right here. Mark's big into the scuba diving, and so we just start brainstorming in this. And we're driving along the coast for so long that we were able to develop an entire plan. And we're like, we could save these people. We could introduce capitalism to this country where these people could save themselves. And, paragliding off the mountains and all kinds of touristy activities. And we're going to establish along the coast of Libya our own little capitalist caliphate. And we just riffed on that for hours as we have our guns in our hands, like looking for who's about to attack us, but came up with the capitalist caliphate that way. And
all right, so David, just being because David is David, so at the very end he kind of maybe gave you a little insight. I mean, we were whistling past the graveyard again. It's just me and David, the only two Americans, and yeah, right. And that's it. And we had one of the locals, a translator. Okay. Yeah. Because no one else from the team came with me. It was just,
you had your buddy, you had your teammate who was like a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. Was he there with, oh no, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Let's just call him the voice man for now. I forgot. Okay. So it's 3 Americans And David's, trying to think about what we had, and I'm here to tell you, all we had was harsh language. Like if we were into a fight, like the only thing we really had to deal with a fight was harsh language. And but yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, dude, how could I forget about that? Because he was a big part of that conversation too, because he's such a funny dude and such a smart ass, but I do want to just give David prop. Part of it is we were just whistling past the graveyard, but on a different, from a slightly different perspective, just for how these live streams might go on Friday. It was also really sad because I'm so lucky to have seen some things that very few, I mean, almost no Americans have seen. Maybe some Europeans have seen. Again, there's still a relationship with Italy, and you got the Mediterranean side, so maybe some people have seen, but it just hadn't really been seen or anything for so very long. And to David's point, I'm just like, oh my God, the beauty of this, the possibility and how this could actually make so many people. Yeah. Do you want to have an economy based on tourism? Well, no, you want to have economy based on something else. But if you don't have that something else and tourism is all you have, well, then you make the best of what you can do. And that brings in money for conservation and preservation. Just the scuba diving on the Med is fucking incredible. The Roman ruins, I'm here to tell you, I don't even know how people don't talk about the best Roman ruins. And I've been like, dude, the best fucking Roman ruins I've ever seen. And David and I are some of the only Americans who've actually seen some of that shit.
And it was
in at least the last 50 or 100 years anyway, or something like that.
And I mean, it was so beautiful that for moments of time, it took us out of our own reality, right? Where we could daydream about what we saw as a possibility. Because at the core, somewhere deep down, we're there trying to help the Libyans become somewhat normal, right? Like if you get rid of Gaddafi, maybe these dudes could figure their shit out. And
well, hey, on that note right there, tell a different personal story. Remember during one of the poker games when we thought that one guy who'd left the party and you and I were a little bit concerned, and then we went looking for him, and then I was like all like Jeremiah Johnson tracking him through the dirt road, like, oh my God, he was here. And we met that local dude who started talking to us, and we drinking beer. You want to tell that story real quick? Because that goes exactly into what you're saying.
Well, we're diplomats at some level. I know it's more spy, but we do want what's best for the people. That's why we're there. And we offered that. We were so drunk. Oh my God. Why are we telling this story? But
because it goes to your point. Like we wanted to help. And that guy had no problem with us and what we were doing. That guy, he lived under a totalitarian regime, but given his druthers, he wanted to have that freedom and that capability, just like any other freedom-loving human being out there. Period.
He wanted
That's
what
why I
we
brought
had,
it up.
what we were not taking for granted, but it's a normal part of the world we live in, where we have the freedom to go from our house to the next dude's house with a beer in hand, just stumbling along and making friends, talking to people, having a good time, and not for a moment there, you're not an American. You're just one human to another human. And that's what I felt as we're driving through, the capitalist caliphate. It's so much beauty and so much opportunity, like the vision for these people. It could actually be a great country. It could be like I always say, individually, they're amazing people. Collectively, they're retarded. And that's what I hope they're throwing, that's what Gaddafi does to them. But the capitalist caliphate that whole region was so indescribably beautiful that despite the danger we were in, despite the danger we knew we were going into, moments of time, we could daydream about how amazing it was there, that what kind of future these guys could have had. That's how crazy it was. That's how beautiful that place was. And the capitalist caliphate with the resort, oh man, it could have been great. Dude, destination, and there's nothing wrong with a tourist city. I'm from Reno. Like, we don't make anything. I mean, we do now, but we just got casinos. We're all about tourism, casinos and mountains. So it could have
Well, I
worked
mean,
there.
and you just actually, I just took a step back and I kind of checked myself. You're absolutely right. Great. I work at the hotel, or I work at the dive shack, or I work at the, casino or the bar. And then when I'm not working, guess what I'm doing? I'm scuba diving. I'm enjoying all this scenery. I'm living that climate, and like, hey, what are you going to do for dinner tonight? I don't know. Let me just go jump in the med and see if I can get an octopus and some clams and shit. Like, unfucking believable. Just
Creating
absolutely
yeah,
believable.
creating an amazing life for you and your family. Like, what more could you ask for? And that's what they have right there. It's still sitting there, vacant land in the middle of their third civil war.
Yeah.
That's the capitalist caliphate story. I mean,
Well, I mean, we didn't quite do it the justice. But you guys tell us. Leave a comment, live or afterwards if that was a horrible story. I guess DB and I, maybe we should have started off with that story, when we were, well, he's not even drinking right now. See, that doesn't even sound like a good capitalist caliphate. What kind of business partner is this? He's not even at the table having a scotch. I'm sorry, a bourbon,
I'll
because
never
it's
drink my profits. No way.
yeah, right. But I'm here to tell you though, that's one of those weird moments that I will always remember, and it takes me back to it because DB's not wrong. It was an incredibly long road trip. It's just a handful of Americans, no close air support, no indirect fire, no CAS, no IDF, no medical, no QRF, no quick reaction force. And all we got is pew, 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 little pea shooters and harsh language. And we're just rolling out there, honestly, DB, because we were probably fucking stupid. And maybe we just wanted to get away from what was becoming the headquarters of the whole Benghazi,
That's how we connect it. This is the bureaucracy of Washington is so bad that it bled into our Benghazi annex that we were willing to go poorly armed into the terrorist capital of the world by ourselves. We're like, fuck it.
Fuck it. Let's just get the hell out of here. These guys are fucking
better than these guys. Like,
yeah, these guys over here are retarded. Yeah, those guys might kill me, but these guys are fucking idiots. Let's just get the fuck out of here for a day. That's actually, but on it. Okay, so we're having a little bit of fun, but on a serious note, and this saddens me. And I think of some of the other places I've been, and I'll save those for different podcasts. We're going to keep doing this. We'll bring some other, former military agency guys on and talk these same kind of stories. But I think in the formative years of my life, the agency was a huge part of that. Look, everybody, whoever you are, maybe you were the strongest and the smartest in your 20s. For me, that really didn't happen until my, early 30s to my mid 40s. I was 42 years old and I'm still running 10 miles without even breaking a sweat. When David knew me, I was actually recovering. That's why I kind of was where I was with David, because I'd done a really tough tour someplace else. And maybe I'll show a picture when I do that. But I had lost so much weight, I looked like something out of Auschwitz. I mean, it was just imagine 6 months eating grass and goat meat, type of shit. So, doesn't matter how badass you are, if you're not getting proteins, you're going to just start eating up your muscle mass. But just thinking about that area and that location, I don't know where I just went in that whole little tangent about, body mass and stuff. But okay, so I was just starting to get back into my normal physical self. And David kind of knew me during that period of time. I'm old, fat, and broken right now, so that doesn't count. But the capitalist caliphate, if you're big into scuba diving, parachuting, and adventure, many of you might think about in the North, New Zealand, North Island, South Island, whatever your thing is. I'm here to tell you the western part of the Libyan coast along the Med has so many beautiful locations, so many incredible Roman ruins, so many diversions. And that's where I think, as we were dreaming during that trip, David, that's where my mind was going. It's like, fuck, I want to come back here. And I know I got to be a little careful with, but we were talking about hotels and I'm just going to leave it at that. But but I was like, oh, blah, 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 fucking hotel right there. I mean, look at that, you know, like, oh gosh, man.
This here, I'll show. I'll give another anecdote of how amazing this area is. The Romans have a coin, and I'd have to ask my wife. She's the actual smart person here. But on the
Hey, by the
coin,
way, that was not a CIA misinformation or lie. His wife is the smart one. So that was 100% true. That was not a David doing MK Ultra on anybody.
So the Romans have this coin, and on the back of it's a picture of a flower. And I can't remember the flower's name, but basically it is like the Viagra of the Roman world. Well-known flower. You could Google this stuff, and it only exists in one place on Earth. You know where that is, Mark?
Probably Derna.
Apollonia.
Apollonia. Okay.
In that whole coast area. That's how crazy this little place is. It's like the Viagra of the ancient world. Imagine that. Yeah. So I've always thought that was pretty cool.
Hey, it's funny you just mentioned again Viagra. This is CLS After Dark, so that kind of worked out perfectly. Well done,
got
sir.
The sponsor, yeah.
Hey, that's got to be on the Capitalist Caliphate T-shirt or the hoodie. Then we got to mention that. You know, period. Yes. That's pretty good. I like that. I didn't know. Did you know that when we were on our trip, or did that something you learned later?
Yeah, wife told me that well after. And I probably butchered the whole thing. It probably wasn't the Viagra of the ancient world. It was probably I don't know.
The Metamucil,
like the exact opposite or something.
Yeah, it's probably the Metamucil or the diarrhea medicine or some shit of the ancient world, whatever.
But that flower is only it's extinct now. They have no idea. It's completely gone, but it's from right where we were at. So that's a pretty cool area. Lots of rad history that's not being lost, but it's not being celebrated. They're not getting to. I mean, you remember that little town that we turned? I don't even need to describe it, but there's a little town right before we go into Apollonia area. And the people who live there probably never even go over the ruins. They have no
you're talking about coming down the hill. We came yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. Those people just like, so I live near Lake Superior. Man, you know how few people actually take a look out their window and realize the beauty, the majesty that is Lake Superior? No, they just go about their daily lives and forget that stuff. That's exactly how I felt coming through that town you're just talking about. It's like, oh my God, did these people even know what's in their backyard? Man. No, probably not.
So yeah, crazy story. I love that story. I know it's not the sexy CIA stories that people like to hear, but when you think about it, that's part of what makes those sexy CIA stories happen. You know, like we have to have those moments of peace. We have to have those moments of tranquility because we don't know what's on the other side of the road, you know?
No, that's very true. And see, and what I like about that, and and we'll save the matter of fact, DB, I might try to bring you on with another person who actually knew a couple of the GRS guys. He'd gone through training with them. So maybe we do the Benghazi piece and then we just have the three of us talking because we all have, a slightly different perspective coming into that story. So maybe we just save that. And I apologize, everybody. If you joined us tonight thinking we were going to sit and talk about Benghazi, that was part of the intention. And we do have, again, a lot of fucking things to say about that. But I think, for tonight, the first time doing this, we're just kind of warming up to the idea. And I'm going to look directly into the camera and I'm just going to simply say, this is the first time I've really ever talked about this. But as David said earlier, and to David's credit, no one's talking about this. And that's what's kind of drawn me out into, we can't let this history die. I mean, I know that's a stupid story, but if David and I actually sat down and wrote that out and told the whole story of that road trip, I don't know, unless you're a zombie or dead inside, you would, there's some aspect of that story, humanity, intelligence, security, danger, shit in your fucking pants when you're so we didn't even get into the whole, and then we finally get to the objective where we're trying to go and we're looking around dude, under our breath, I didn't have a beard and we're all dude, we're so gonna fucking die here. We're fucking so dead. Dude, this is Al Qaeda Central. We're fucking done, dude. We're fucking done.
And
Yeah,
I wanted to
great
find a
fucking
nice
story.
little
And we
place to
probably
get
did it a
lunch.
little bit of an injustice.
Yeah, probably, but I think people could connect with some of that stuff. Where even when you're in all the guys who've served in crazy, terrible countries, they were able to see the beauty, the possibility. It didn't matter where you're at, shitty places. There's always something there.
Western
And
Iraq, the wild west. You go a little bit farther north, or even around the river valleys, and then up into Mosul. I mean, like some of the ruins from, again, ancient Mesopotamia, and then Afghanistan. I remember, and I'll tell a story about that. Like just sitting there, like, holy fucking shit! Why is there not a ski resort right here? Do you know how many Americans would come to ski this? And then how many people would come to fly fish that river in the valley below? Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? So that's actually there. I just realized it right there, a glass of wine deep. That's kind of why I want to start talking about the stories, because we're human beings and we're not all that fucking different. And if we could find a way to put down our bullshit, we would really realize, hey, there's a lot of ways that a lot of things we can share, and a lot of ways we can work with each other. Great. You've got a different religion than me. Well, then make some exemptions, or turn an eye, or don't do it. And then, if you don't want to do it, then suffer those consequences. Your country could be making millions of dollars hand over fucking fist every fucking 3 months if you open it up to tourism, because idiots like us want to go there and experience it and see it. And it's beautiful, and it's historic, and and it's just badass and fun. I didn't get a whole lot of time of leave when I was in the agency, but one of the leaves, I actually decided to stay in America and just drive around by myself and go to baseball stadiums. So I'm halfway done with my bucket list of, visiting American baseball stadiums. I did that in one 30-day leave period. What I was thinking of doing was going to New Zealand and going scuba diving and, and skydiving and all that stuff. But to the point David and I are making, had the world been different, I would have been like, well, why am I going to fly, a full day to New Zealand? No offense, New Zealand. I could go to Libya and I could do all that kick-ass shit and see badass Roman ruins. So why wouldn't I do that instead?
Yeah. And back to your point about the importance of telling these stories, you know how many people back in Washington asked me for my story after the evacuation, or even after our time in Benghazi? Zero.
Yeah.
Never came up. There's no purpose for me to ever put it in a cable, right? Like, what am I, just writing memoirs in a cable? Like, you would think they would just ask, like, hey, give us some of the history, and I remember back in my office when I first started, 2007-ish, there was an old OSS guy. I mean, we're talking crooked ass back, 90 years old dude who freaking was behind enemy lines, like the greatest stories you've ever heard. And all his job there, like he got paid or something. I don't know how the whole arrangement worked, but all I did was spend all my time talking to him, learning about his stories, wanting to hear from him. He was the history. He lived it. He's the OG spy of the agency. I wanted to know more, and I was blessed to have that opportunity to spend so much time with this guy. And what we lose when we don't tell our stories, or when we don't ask people for those stories, are the stories themselves. The events don't happen, and it's best to capture that immediately, right? I could barely remember. Everything I remember now is glossed over and happy. There was no emotion. If you asked me, 12 years ago when we left, or 13, or whatever it was, there would have been a different story, a different emotion, something that was in the spirit of what was going on that should have been captured so we could learn from the mistakes that we made at that time.
So I just got to interject real quickly and thank you for saying that, because, the case officer in me, which is still in me, kind of let some of that slide, because you mentioned a couple names and some personalities, and you did so in a positive light. But I still remember, and maybe my memory is skewed, but, offline, I'd say, hang on a second, do you really think that way about, that person? Is that really how you remember it? But to David's point, and I'm not picking on David, again, I'm saying I don't remember everything as well anymore either. We're just old, and and your life is different. You're moving in a different direction. But so, David, I guess where I'm really going with that all the more reason then. I don't care if it's a book, but maybe we should just start doing chapters or something at a time and just doing that over on Reno Dads. I'm totally on board with, because did we give it another 10 years? How much will we even remember that capitalist caliphate story? You know what I'm saying? You and I remember that right now because that was like a pretty seminal moment, right? But and you remember other things, and and so but the more time that we spend since those activities or those actions, the greater time just like time wears down rock. It just wears down. You're like, oh fuck, I forgot about that. Yeah, I remember that now.
Yeah, and a lot of the anger I've had over certain things, certain people, whatever, I've let go of a lot of that over time. Found whatever's left are the positive memories I've had. I look fondly on some of the people we worked with. If you asked me when we were working, I'd probably lose my mind on a few of them because we worked with a lot of asshats. I get it, but there's nothing gained from me from holding on to a lot of that now. So,
well, okay, so
I'm not perspective.
So just to end tonight on this note, because we'll do this again, and and whether we bring in this other guy or it's just me and you, and we just focus that episode on just Benghazi. But again, just being polite, not a deference to David, something was spoken earlier, and I kind of made a little hand gesture. I did something, and he knows what I'm talking about, but we moved on to another subject. But just even before the quote unquote revolution, there had been something going on, and I so here, David, remember the meeting that I called? And I was not the person to call meetings. I just brought David and a bunch of other people and I just started fucking whiteboarding and war gaming this, because again, you don't wait until you're in the middle of the crisis to prepare for it. And I started planning for something, and then the chief of station found out about it, and the DCOM found, and then suddenly people are like, hey, could you give us that same briefing? I'm like, sure, tell me when. And then no one ever said when. And then I was like, yep, that's it. I'm fucking done. So, David, you kind of, and I'm not picking on you, but so again, our memories are all different. And you could say, Mark, it wasn't as bad as you think it is. But in my mind, I still remember, like, you guys asked me. And then when I said, yeah, of course, I work for you guys, tell me. And then no one did anything about it. That's when the fun meter finally hit zero. And I'm like, these people are not fucking serious. These people are going to get a bunch of people killed. I got to get the fuck away from this organization right now.
Oh, and I don't disagree. I ignore those parts when I tell the story,
Okay, here we go.
You gotta remember, my experience was on a different part of the house, and
dude, see, you've been holding back. There's so many things you could talk about, like the stupid thing with fucking money, the commo. We didn't even talk about commo or destroying fucking weapons.
Guns. Oh my God.
Yeah. I'm here to tell you, boys and girls, this has been the first. We're putting the toe in the water to see if the water's warm. There was so much more. I was willing, the roads I was going to go down with DB tonight. They didn't come up. So we do the polite thing and we just move on. But we could do this podcast again. We could stop right now and start it all over. And, if David had a fucking bourbon in his hand, he probably would tell a little bit more.
My inner asshole comes out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, again, the whole destruction process. And I'm just going to say it to this, like, think about this, boys and girls. Military, whatever, it doesn't matter. When you have to evacuate something, and if you are smart and you've planned for this, you've got some evacuation procedures. I mean, like, that's not sources and methods. That's common sense. You don't just pull this shit out of your ass. Well, go back to my previous comment. You don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis until you're prepared for one. And then suddenly, nope, you're just pulling shit out of your ass in the middle of a crisis. So DB's being very polite, and maybe we'll get him drunk next time and he can talk a little bit more.
Mistakes were made for sure.
You think? Seriously? All right. Hey, let me just read a couple comments, and then I'm going to give you closing comments because we're at 2 hours. I think that's a good place to wrap out episode 1 of CLS After Dark. Here we go. Let me try to find apparently Gene and Tennessee are giving each other shit, so I'm gonna skip past those. Tennessee's like something about I'm messing with you, Gene. Apparently, those guys, you guys can leave comments that I can't see, or maybe you can send each other private comments. Gene's doing yes. Okay, here we go. I found where we are. Not that I'm giving Tennessee and Gene a hard time. No, you guys do you. That's the fun of, I guess, the live stream chats. But AVV, I bet if you were making Joe Rogan money, you could do a 3-hour live stream. AVV, if I was making Joe Rogan money, I wouldn't be here doing a live stream. I would be establishing the capitalist caliphate. That's what I would be doing. If I was making Joe Rogan money and I knew how much more Joe Rogan type of money I could make if I had the capitalist caliphate, I'd be in there setting up the capitalist caliphate right now, my good man. AVV, another comment. Killery. I'm not going to say the last name. I'll just say Killery. And Killery messed up what could have been a great vacation spot. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's because somebody thought they needed to have a feather in their hat for some political bullshit. And Killery got to her nom de guerre. Ironic that I use that term, her war name. But yeah, and she got 4 Americans killed. And we'll bring that up later. Learn me something. Great story. Thank you. Learn me something. Glad you are here and are hanging out with us tonight. Gene, all stories are great when you can walk away and tell them. And amen, brother. You are absolutely right. And even if it's not a good story for anyone else, you look back and say, holy fucking shit. And then you kind of, your brain and your, chemicals in your body kind of bring you back to that moment real quickly. But so this is for you, DB. AVV is asking if the flower was called Silphium. He said he did a quick internet search and it sounds like that was the flower. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it is. It was like an aphrodisiac and like a herbal medicine type thing. But yeah, that's it. And it was on the coin. Yeah, that's 100% it. So I didn't.
And by the way, just on a stupid little side note, we played because there's not a whole lot else to do. There's not nightclubs and shit like that. But we did play a lot of poker, and everybody had a fake because that there's just tons of fake coins. But we all had little fake coins for our Texas Hold'em, so our card holders. Everybody would be throwing down some new little statue or coin, something like that. So Silphium, okay, that's pretty cool. Hey, is that on any of the fake coins that you have from the poker stuff, or?
No, I only have the statues. I still have them, but yeah.
Oh, give me a second. That was my card holder.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yep, that was my card holder when we were playing poker over there. Yep. So
Mine's
not as cool as a Silphium flower on a Roman coin, but not bad. Learn me some. Apologize for nothing. These were great insights into what you gentlemen experienced. Well, thanks for, again, I hope we didn't bore you too much. We'll get better at these, but this is not a bad place to start. AVV, even in POW camps, guys lessen stress by creating the hand. Yeah, whatever it takes to keep your mind right. Sir, it was like being in a prisoner of war camp. There was all kinds of shit just trying to make the weekend and the weekday. Yeah, DB's laughing about that. Now he's warming up. Yeah. Phil, thanks for sharing. Made for an interesting evening. Phil, you are winner chicken dinner on the actual belt pouch per DB's decision. So do send me that email with all your data, sir, and I'll drop that in the mail for you. On that note, DB, 2 hours, again, probably totally fake, but we all had little stupid things like this to hold our cards down for playing, Texas Hold'em. But where do you want to go with it? Take us out, my good man.
Oh, as always, I love to end by just showing my appreciation to everybody who commented, who participated, who makes telling these stories worth it. In the world I currently live in, not a lot of people who served in the same capacity, certainly not the same sense. And I don't share these stories at all. My wife, she live a lot of them. She knows them. It doesn't go much further than that. There's not a lot of interest, and I just don't force it. So when we do get to share these pieces of stories, it is, like I said, always therapeutic, but I do want to, show that I do appreciate everybody who listens, who participates, who hangs out, who watches this later on, comments. I just appreciate it. Bottom of my heart, Those were fun adventures. I do thank you guys all for paying for the fun adventures that we got to have. But
Especially the ones that didn't result in us dying. So, those are always the best ones.
yeah, and now I turn it around and I hope to, make it to where other families in the community that I live in and where other communities anywhere to have better opportunities at protecting their families by just learning some of the stuff we write in the guides, So paying it
Hey,
forward a
so
little
right
bit.
there on that note, sorry to interrupt you. You just gave me a thought and again, a humanistic and emotional thought. Seriously, if you watch this video, I know everybody's got a busy life, but go check out Reno Dads. Go read those articles. Give them some support. See what they're trying to do. It isn't all cool guy stuff. It's about my kids are in sports and how do I do like we're all fucking human beings, right? And that's and then honestly, let us know because David, I think we should just do it, whether anyone says we should do it or not, because it's history. And at least it'll be there and it'll be somehow captured and documented that here's the story from, two knuckleheads. And if we can get that, the other guy, we can get some few comments in there. Maybe he can be like, just give him a pen name or something like that. But I haven't heard from him for almost a year now. So, God, I hope he's doing okay.
Yeah,
It's been a little.
He's doing great. We just don't need to know.
Well, I think he's still in. So, yeah. But anyway, but you kind of see where I'm going. That I think these are the things we should just do. Whether anyone, I mean, I don't know. I know that's why I'm doing this. Look, hey, okay, we had for us, Centerline Systems, a pretty good night, a little night, pretty decent crew of people. Totally hats off and appreciate all the comments in the chat and everybody sticking around. We'll see if ScrewTube even lets this video get any attention or whatever, but that's not the point. I personally, selfish, whatever you want to call it, this has been a great step for me just to actually start breaking through and starting to talk about some of this stuff. So I got to give my hats off to you. David and I can do this all night long on the phone. That's not the same thing doing it in front of a camera and actually doing it in front of the world. He might be more comfortable with it. I'm still not that comfortable with it. So thanks, David.
Yeah.
What else? What do you got, my good man? Give us something. Take us out on something a little bit happier and cheerier than what I just did. That was pretty lame for the first episode.
I mean, I shared all my funny stories from the agency. We got into all kinds of. I like to push buttons. I don't know. Like when bureaucracy gets in front of you, I like to be the one challenging it. So during assignments, you're stuck in Washington. And one of the lessons I learned quickly is I have this horrible quality that if I walk into an area, I'm like, hey, is there anything I could do to help you guys looking, just to participate, burn some time, contribute. And someone's all, yeah, could you move all these boxes from this cubicle to this one? And I looked at him and I was like, okay. I turned the other way, walked away, never walked into that office ever again, and stopped asking those jerks for if I could help them with something. I was literally, yeah.
Hey, I just got to say this. So again, totally unscripted, my story, but so David just shared his story. I have a very similar story. This isn't a dick measuring contest, but I'm just we're trying to, I guess, maybe tell you what bureaucracies and these organizations are like. I'm sitting and talking to somebody about real world surveillance. We're talking, you're conducting real world intelligence operations. If you're doing this under surveillance, you could get yourself, your asset. This is no bueno. And this motherfucker started talking to me about my watch. David knows what I'm talking about. See, we haven't even shown the tip of the iceberg. And I was like, did you not hear a word I just said? Just like, hey, could I help you guys? I've got all this background. Like, yeah, could you move these boxes? Yeah, no, you know what the fuck, people? Jesus criminy.
Yeah, that's Washington.
Motherfucker was asking me about a watch. Hey, that's a really nice watch you're wearing. I'm like, did you not just hear anything I just said? Do you not care? Whatever.
Yeah, I have a million stories like that. That it made my time in Washington. Like I became sneakier. I was probably like the sneakiest dude in the building because everybody wanted you to do bullshit work, and I'm like, nah, this is not. I'm not here to be your like manual labor guy. So I literally was so bored. Yeah, like I said, I found the library and I became at home in the library there.
David was running his own SDRs in the hallways. He was running an SDR so he could avoid the bullshit bureaucracy. All right, hey, let's take this out. Go ahead, sir.
I was gonna say at one point I actually made a flip book that was a map of the entire headquarters building. I would just go up and down each of the hallways of the entire building, just mapping out like where all the offices were. Because I'm like, I have to burn 8 hours here. What could I possibly do? No one knows I exist. My job doesn't exist here. And
Dunkin' Donuts isn't good enough to keep you there for 8 hours. I mean,
somebody would have seen me if I went down on the bottom floor. So I avoided that like the plague.
Oh, fuck. All right, here we go. On the way out, I'm just going to read a couple last comments. And then, so think about your really witty and smart goodbye to everybody for the weekend. Where are we? Okay, I think right here. I think it's Phil. Phil says, thanks for sharing. Made for an interesting evening. Thanks, Phil, for participating. Again, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Help me help you. There's a person out there right now who was talking to me about our padded strap wraps. And I have an extra one in a color we don't do anymore, ATAX FGX. And I said, hey, help me help you. Send me an email and I'll hook. Never heard from the guy ever again. So, if I don't hear from you, I ain't going to run you down. I mean, AVV, great show, guys. Tennessee, thanks for the chuckles, the tears, and the real life shit. Life well lived for sure. Thanks, Tennessee. Gene, thank you for this night. Enjoyed every bit. And Mark, if it helps you both, I will listen to it all. Play any dirt. Plus any dirt. Okay, I see where you're going. DB, he's asking you to start dishing out some dirt on me as a bonus. Oh, God damn it, Gene. That was kind of sleight of hand. Hey, we'll do that next time DB comes on because DB definitely has some dirt on me. There's no doubt about it. So we'll save that for part 2 of this conversation. Tennessee says, Gene, we need to make Mark a challenge coin. The dirt is always the best. Okay. I'm not really to go with that. Yes, Gene and see, you guys are talking shit about me on the live chat and I didn't even see it. And then Snowshoe Dave's, I don't know if you're agreeing that dirt on me is good, Snowshoe, or you're saying as a coin is a good idea. Not 100% sure, but we're going to end it right there. DB, challenge coin, whatever you want to do. Take us on out for the end of episode 1 of CLS After Dark. And then, we'll just keep doing this. I like it. I had a great time. Seriously, about a glass and a half of wine. I'm still really bummed with you for letting me down. You didn't have any bourbon, but whatever. It was all good. It's all good.
Time to drink now, but at 3 o'clock.
Oh, don't give me that West Coast bullshit, dude. Come on, man. All right, take us on out, man.
I'm never intentionally funny, so I don't really have, nor am I witty. So, but what I can offer up for the next time I'm on the show, I will bring out our ridiculously large Libyan operations challenge coin. It has so much ego in it. It's made of ego, pure ego, and I absolutely love it. I'll bring that out next time.
Yeah, I think actually we should be a little bit more prepared for the next one. I do have, so just on a stupid note, I don't have a whole lot of photos of me, and the photos I have are almost always taken by somebody else because we just don't do that stuff. But we can share some photos of, I bet DB's got more photos because of his wife has some really good photos. I've got a couple photos scuba diving. That's it. I'm trying to find, where the hell is it? There it is right here. I just got a AVV. You mean your tactically acquired coin, DB? Or is that what you're going to share with everybody?
Yes.
Yes. Absolutely. Okay. Let's do that. Okay. Hey, thank you so very much for being a part of episode 1 of CLS After Dark. I hope you found it entertaining. Maybe we'll make these much more pointed and more educational. I don't know if that doesn't quite sit well with me. I think we're talking some very serious subjects. And for me personally, I like interjecting a little bit of humor during those type of subjects. Again, we're not writing a book. I think DB and I need to talk about that. And maybe we do need to put our real thoughts and real emotions to paper. And we probably really should do that. Leave a comment, live on the video on demand. But anyway, we'll have DB back. DB has been on a lot of our podcasts. We've talked about a bunch of this stuff. I definitely want him to come back on, and we'll talk about, in the future, other issues, home defense, situational awareness, surveillance detection. Go read that article about his experience evacuating the embassy, because I'm here to tell you, boys and girls, I've been in a few different things, but I wasn't a part of that. And I can only imagine what that would have felt like, because it isn't just you and your battle buddy. It's you, your battle buddy, and then everybody's family. And that's got to be a pucker factor of at least 10 or 100. I mean, that's real world shit. I mean, so that's just, so whoever said, made the comment about veterans of the psychic war. Yeah, DB is definitely a veteran. So, hats off to DB for taking the time away from his family to be here tonight. Hats off to each and every one of you for taking the time away. Or maybe you're getting drunk with your spouse and watching this nonsense, and if that's what you're doing, God bless you. I really appreciate it. DB, I know DB, and this is one of the other reasons I just got a last little shout out to DB. This format that we were starting to do and the interaction with the live stream, DB and I've talked a couple times about it. And DB, do you just want to maybe chime in on that? Like, why do you keep coming back? It's not because I'm flying you out to Minnesota or giving you sponsorship. What is it that you like about this, and how can we make this better going forward?
Well, like I said, I don't get to tell the story. It's fun reliving some of these stories, sharing with other people what that world is like pulling back some of that veil. The CIA is still a very sexy, secretive, shadowy. They make movies about it constantly, TV shows about it constantly. Like, it's all you ever see. And if it allows us to connect the rest of the world to the fact that there are CIA guys like us all over, we're normal dudes. You could run into me at the Little League fields. That's how normal these guys are. We're just like everybody out there. And I love sharing that part of the story, sharing that part of my life with the world. I don't share this on my own timeline. Again, people like on Facebook or anything, because those people don't get it. They don't show an interest. It's not how I've connected with them. This is a part of my life that I've kept separate from the other part of my life. So having these opportunities to talk is awesome, and I look forward to it. And, you hate it when I say it, but I do owe you. Like, you kept me alive, man. I, I've been in some...
That's the shit the MK Ultra shit he was feeding me the whole time I was with him. That's all that was right there. Hey, couple last comments. Tennessee's saying she needs to contact you. Can she just reach you through Reno Dads?
Yeah, or hit me up on X, Twitter. My handle is XDBX. It's literally that simple. XDBX.
You XDBX?
Yeah, you could get me there. You could hit me up on
hang on, give me a second. Reno. Give me a second. Is that your Twitter handle right there?
X,
without I didn't put the at in front of it, but if there was an at symbol.
DBX. X.
Oh, Shiza. Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get rid of that. Yep. I apologize. Let me delete that. I see what you said now. Gotcha. I got it better now.
Reno Dads has a link to X. It has a link to my LinkedIn. It has a link to everything. I'm super easy to get a hold of once you know the
How about that right there? Did I do it right this time?
Perfect.
Okay. So Tennessee, that's how you can reach him right there. Or if anybody wants to reach out to DB, right? So DB's a solid guy. You know, he'll either tell you to pound sand or he'll entertain what other kind of crazy questions you might have. So Tennessee said she wanted to reach out to you. Where did we leave off? God dang it. What's going on with my comments here? Did you guys just like kill the comments? Here we go. Got it. All right. Tennessee. This was fun. Thanks, Tennessee. Glad you could be with us and make it fun. Learn me. Respect to y'all. I truly enjoyed the episode and stories. Thanks, DB, for sticking around, or learn me something for sticking around with me and DB. Snowshoe, you were making this real, not all the fake television stuff. Snowshoe, I hate to say this, but DB and I haloed, like that trip we were talking about. We didn't really drive that. We were at 20,000 feet. We haloed out. We were both wearing skin tight black ninja suits. You know, we opened up over the med, dropped our chutes, then scubaed in for the last 10 miles. And then when we took off our scuba suits, we were wearing tuxedos. I know, that's what we really do. So
Isn't that how the French got into Benghazi? Or was that classified?
in tuxedos, probably was in tuxedos.
They did something stupid, I'll tell you that.
Okay, and there we go. And then Gene, drunk typing is the best. Gene, I think, is giving me a hard time for not knowing how to type XDBX. Thank you, Gene. I appreciate it. And honestly, I'm such an old man. 2 glasses of wine is kind of kicking my ass right now. Thank you again, everybody. We're at almost 2.5 hours. Let's just kind of wrap this up. Really appreciate everybody watching the episode again. Like we said, first one, yeah, they might be this long. They might be shorter. We'll just, see where this goes. Just appreciate everybody spending a Friday night, just kind of hearing about it. David, again, your little thoughts. I mean, should people be watching football or something else instead? Or what do you think?
Like I said, I appreciate them taking time out of their Friday night for this. This is fantastic. And after this, I hope they go spend some time with their families. I'm going to go grab my boys, grab my wife, eat some dinner, and do something wholesome.
Yeah. And then that's a great way to end it right there. Go spend some time with your friends and families tonight and this weekend. And on a stupid personal note, if you voted for freedom, if this is what you want, take the weekend off. Relish, just regale yourself. Take that time off. But come next week, boys and girls, one man, 1 minute doesn't the answer make. And hopefully you got kind of some of that from our conversation tonight. There is a shit ton of heavy lifting of hard work in front of us. This isn't going to be easy just because one political party defeated the other in an election. There's a lot of hard work in front of us. And part of the reason I wanted to do these after hours is to start sharing some of these stories. So, I don't know. I mean, we got a lot of hard work in front of us, and I just don't want any of this to be in vain. I don't want the lives of Americans in the forever wars and in the things that we'll talk about when we get into Benghazi the next time. I don't want those to be in vain. Hillary and the rest of them, they don't give a fuck about me and you. They don't care about us. What difference does it make at this point anyway? Well, it makes a fuck of a lot of difference to me. So enjoy your weekend and have a lot of fun. And then realize that if you don't want to repeat history's mistakes, you got to get off your ass, and it's got to start immediately. And we've got to start holding people accountable, and we all need to do a better job. DB, was that a little bit too much of an outro?
Nah, it's perfect.
Let's go. There we go then. That's what we're ending on. So as always, from Centerline, if you got questions, comments, reach out. Hey, and for you guys who are the winner chicken dinners, you don't send me an email with your shipping info. Well, I'm trying to help you out. I'm giving you free gear, but help me help you. Right. So send me an email and I'll drop this in the mail for you. Thanks for all the comments tonight. Thanks for everybody watching. Next week, I'm bringing on at least 1, if not 2 military veterans. And we're going to continue our conversation about VA healthcare. Not as sexy as the CIA, but just as important, and how fucked up that is, and how much, if this next administration is serious, that's got to be on the agenda. Because if you think there's ever going to be healthcare for the average citizen, and we're not even providing health care for the idiots like David and myself who've volunteered to go and do this stuff, well, I got a bridge to nowhere to sell you. So on that note, sorry to leave it on. It's not a downer. It's the truth. If you don't like it, go sit at the kiddie table. But this is an adult table conversation. Thank you so very much for everybody being here and being a part of that conversation. And I hope we see you again on next Friday. David, what do you got? Come on. One last. Give me a woo. Give me something. Get us out of here.
Let's go. I don't know.
All right. We do woos here. But anyway, so David lives on the West Coast now. And what does he know? But, you know,
I didn't even chill. Very chill at this side of the coast.
Well, then you should have just been like, what up, dude? You know, or something.
Yeah, that's usually it.
Yeah, there you go. All right, everybody. Have a great weekend. God bless you. Love every one of you. Thank you for the comments. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next Friday on an episode 2 of CLS After Dark. All right, everybody. Thanks a lot. Be good wherever you are. Talk to you soon. Woo!